goes straight back to Sparky Dickel. Kirk Penny gets it over halfway, still dribbling the ball. No one's fouled him yet. Back to Dickel. Time ticking away. We're down to 7 seconds.
It's all over, Bob. It's all over.
Dickel doesn't even have to put up the shot. He hangs on to it, knocks it back outside. Phil Jones at the buzzer. He scores it. He got a 3.
Oh,
New Zealand with an historic win. 90-81. Can't believe it.
Yes, what a comeback that was. What a start we have had to these World Championships. Good morning. Thanks for joining us as we follow the Tall Blacks at the World Champs. This morning, the second of the group matches, playing Venezuela, and that game underway at 9:30. Joining us this morning for expert comment is former Tall Black Chris Tupu. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning, Jeff.
What's the feeling about the game then?
Oh, absolutely awesome. You know, what a start. And it's the perfect beginning, I guess, for the team. And Tab would be really over the moon, but hey, there's another game on the cards, so they've got to get straight back into it.
I sat here with Tracy Carpenter yesterday, and before the game with Russia, we spoke quite a bit about belief and confidence. Now, that has to be boosted by the result yesterday.
Definitely. You know, their lead-up matches in Europe would have given them a huge amount of confidence. You know, the win over Yugoslavia was absolutely huge. And, you know, Tab, Baldwin, Nenad have instilled a lot of confidence in these guys. And they're a confident bunch anyway, so their belief is right there, and I know that that's going to see them through a few games along with their fantastic skills they showed yesterday.
How hard is it then to go out today after a result like yesterday to keep yourself up?
I think it's pretty hard, but the number of these players in this team are semi-professional or professional players. You know, you've got Sean Marks playing in the NBA. I think they play something like 80 games. You know, Mark in Australia, he plays 40, 50 games in their season. So I think these guys are all kind of used to that type of thing. World Championship, bit of a bigger stage, but I think they're going to be up for it.
All right, well, for a while yesterday, it did look as though the Tall Blacks would not make a winning start to these championships. The first half against Russia was littered with missed opportunities and with turnovers. And, Chris, really, the Russians were very tough on us inside.
Always known for their physical presence around the basket. They've got a number of huge forwards and centres. Kirilenko there plays in the NBA. Relentless on the offensive boards, and they really troubled us in the first half.
You talk about the offensive boards. Really, we were rebounded out of the game in that first half.
Yeah, but, you know, to the credit of the Kiwis, they hung in there. You know, players like Pero ended up playing a lot bigger than they really were in the end. You can see Pero there, big, strong.
Yeah, but turnovers there, that was the key too in that first half.
Yeah, I guess, you know, throughout this championship, they can't afford to start slow in the first half against these good teams.
But you always know that any team that Tab Baldwin puts out on the court, it's going to play with heart and it's going to play with pride.
Yeah, the character of this team was never in doubt, as Tab mentioned in that Hungary series. And, you know, now it's just a matter of putting it all together for the second game.
Well, certainly as the game went on, the Kiwis found their range from outside.
Yeah, any one of those starting five has got a great three-point shot. You see Sean Marks here, great block. Really, he's started to really come on in this last
He really did
games.
step up, didn't he, Sean Marks?
Yeah, throughout the tour of Europe leading up to this, he was apparently just fantastic. So, Pero there taking it strong to the hole. For a 6'6" guy, Pero plays a lot bigger than he is, and he's consummate professional.
Wasn't it great, though, to see the way the Tall Blacks were able to come back and rattle a side like Russia, ranked 5th in the world?
You know, it's full credit to those guys, and they'll be looking forward to this morning's match, and they want to make sure they back it up with another solid performance.
Well, we're all looking forward to it, that's for sure. The Russians having led 49-35 at the break yesterday, although there were signs late in the half that the Tall Blacks were coming to terms with the Russians and the fact that they were on the world stage. Now, Chris, the cold patch that the Tall Blacks hit yesterday, that's something that Tab Baldwin's going to have to address.
Yeah, those sort of periods throughout the game, he wants to minimise them and cut those periods down so that they really are consistent throughout the whole game, and that's going to be important down the stretch.
What we saw yesterday, and I guess we've seen through Europe as well in the series with Canada, Tab Baldwin's philosophy of close enough is no longer good enough, we're now seeing that coming out.
Yeah, and the belief, it comes back to that belief. These guys, they beat the world champions Yugoslavia 2 weeks ago. They honestly believe, and those guys are fighters. You know, Mark Dickel will play one-on-one with his grandma. You know, they are
and
real
show her
competitors.
No
yeah. So, you know, they've got a bunch of guys there. On any given day, they are game breakers internationally, and they've shown it.
All right, well, we're counting down to 9:30. The game start against Venezuela. The Tall Blacks will be looking to start quickly. You may have seen Tab Baldwin interviewed last night. He said this game this morning would be the most important in the careers of some of his players. Although, of course, if they win it, it won't be long before another most important game comes along. We're counting down to the start of the match at 9:30. Stay with us. You're with One Sport following the Tall Blacks at the World Championships today. Game 2 live against Venezuela at the RCA Dome in Indianapolis, downtown Indianapolis. We'll set the scene with our commentator Bob Montai in a moment. Venezuela ranked 23rd in the world. Now, the latest news we have on Sean Marks' ankle is that he is sore, but he will play a part in the game. We'll be able to confirm that very shortly when we chat with our commentator Bob Montai. We do know Venezuela was belted yesterday by Argentina, 107-72. Chris, what else do we know about the South Americans?
They have a couple of players in the NBA, Carl Herrera and Oscar Torres, so those are two players to watch out for today, and in that they're very quick.
Certainly we saw on that European tour that some of those quick sides, and I'm thinking of a side like France, for example, gave the Tall Blacks some problems.
Yeah, definitely. And I think also Tab Baldwin mentioned in the paper today that that against the bigger teams, you know, the Tall Blacks have been known to come out and play extremely well, and then against the lesser teams, you know, they've struggled a little bit at times. So it's really important for them to just continue on with how they finished the game in the fourth quarter yesterday.
So what are you expecting to see when Tab Baldwin puts his five on the court today?
Well, I'm expecting them to come out and have a better first half than they did, and maybe see some more players get rotated in. It's obviously a tournament. It's a long, you know, tournament to go through, long week, hard games, so that he's got to be able to use his bench, and it's up to the starting five maybe just to, you know, put the pressure on Venezuela early on so that he can rotate some players in.
All right, well, while the team has to put the win yesterday to one side and concentrate totally on what has to be done this morning, we can afford just for a few minutes to enjoy the amazing final minutes of the win over Russia. Remember, New Zealand down by 14 at half-time, down by 9 going into the final quarter, and then sweeping to victory by outscoring the Russians 32-14 in the final period.
Ah, the drama of basketball. You couldn't script a game like this. Tchalkin knocks it back outside. Morganoff misses the three. Oh, they give it away. They give it away to the Russians. Now,
Sparky's legs.
Pashutin knocked the ball back in, went off Dickel's knee, so the Russians control the ball, and the shot clock is reset on 24. New Zealand by 2. Panoff gives it up to Tchalkin. 11 seconds on the shot clock. Tchalkin playing with it outside. He's going to have to do something. Takes it in. We got a foul. It's going to be called against Sparky Dickel. Sparky says, no way, Jose, but he still gets the foul. Sergei Tchalkin, 13 points, 3 of 8 from the three-point line. Well, the free throws getting the Russians back into the game, and they've stepped up. The timeout they took was absolutely crucial. Settled them down. They began to play very tough defense again. They make the 2 free throws. Scores are locked on 79 all. 1 minute, 25 seconds to go. Hang on to your hats. Inside, Phil Jones been very quiet. Dickel throws a 3. It's there!
Sparky Dickel, he threw 2 air balls at him earlier on in the game and comes back and nails the 3 to go up.
Hey,
108.
Jeffy threw 2 rangefinders. He connects with the first. Three-pointer, Tchalkin, the ball's knocked off the rim.
He does.
Carol Cameron knocked out of bounds, but there was no call, and Dickel brings it over halfway. 51 seconds. Ball goes inside. Sean Marks, we got a foul.
We got a foul. Sean Marks with the foul.
Panoff, Sergei Panoff, number 6, picks up the foul, and Marks will go to the free throw line with 50 seconds left in the ball game. New Zealand leading by 3. Here it comes right here. Watch the pass. Oh, that's Dickel's three-pointer.
Nothing
Splash.
but the bottom of the net, Bob, and I've got to tell you, I thought on that other play, Sparky came down the court too fast, but all of a sudden he dropped it into Sean Marks. Sean got fouled. Sean's just made one. We're up 4, 50.3 to go. What a great game we've got.
I don't know who was calling the incoming fire, but they got that one right. Dickel connects for 3.
Up 5.
Sean Marks makes the 2 free throws. Time ticking away. The Russians down by 5, looking shaky out front. New Zealand, defensive intensity. Right up there. Shakalkeen from the 3, doesn't go down. Dickel knocks it into Peril Cameron's hand. 30 seconds. New Zealand on the verge of an historic win. Phil Jones, he's got it! He's got it!
Oh,
He's
no.
going to be on the line, a 3-pointer play.
I don't want to have to bust our bubble, but Sean Marks came down and sprained his ankle badly. He is walking off the court.
Well, that could be absolute tragedy for New Zealand, but in this game, Phil Jones goes to the hoop, fearlessly puts it up. The block was missed. The shot goes down. He was fouled. He's on the line. It's an 86-79 ball game. 7 points. Phil Jones will make the free throw. That makes it 8 points. New Zealand cannot lose from here. 29 seconds to go in the game.
Quiet, Bob, quiet. We don't want to put any hexes on no one.
Incoming fire is there. Jones makes it. Boucher comes in to pick some pockets. We got 29 seconds left in the ball game. Probably 2 possessions for the Russians. Don't foul if they're shooting a 3. We're down to 22 seconds. Morganoff with the ball, guarded by Book. He's got nowhere to go. And Book,
good foul, Ed. That's a good foul. 18 seconds on the clock to go in the game. That was a good foul. Put the Russians on the line. Get the ball to Sparky Dickel. Get the ball down the offensive end. This is our game, Bob. I can now safely say 18.8 seconds to go. This is the Kiwis' first historic win in the World Championships. What a day.
And the tall Russians look to be going for a fall in the first game up here. This is the game that we've targeted. This is the game that we wanted to win. Argentina, look out, and Venezuela, beware. New Zealand's going into the second round here. Morganoff makes the first. It's an 87-80 ball game. 18.8 seconds. He makes both free throws. Now New Zealand,
full court press.
Timeout's going to be taken.
Russians.
Substitution, that's number 12 coming into for the Victor Hrepka. Comes in for Russia. Ball goes straight back to Sparky Dickel. Kirk Penny gets it over halfway, still dribbling the ball. No one's fouled him yet. Back to Dickel. Time ticking away. We're down to 7 seconds.
It's all over, Bob. It's all over.
Dickel doesn't even have to put up the shot. He hangs on to it, knocks it back outside. Phil Jones at the buzzer. It's scored in. He got a 3.
Oh,
New Zealand with an historic win. 90-81. Can't believe it.
Yes, what a turnaround it was in the second half, especially Chris Tupu in the turnovers, and at half-time that had not made pretty reading.
No, not at all. Some deciding facts there also, the 3-point field goals. New Zealand 50% almost, so that's huge.
8 out of 13 3-pointers in the second half.
Great shooting, fantastic.
Cameron, Marks and Penny leading the fight back. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, really, you know, those 3 players came through in the clutch then, and you'd expect that from those guys.
And Russia hit 10 out of 29 shots in the second half while committing 8 turnovers. What was great to see was the way a team with that amount of experience was rattled by the New Zealand pressure.
I think our defence as a team has really picked up, you know, throughout the Hungary series, throughout their tour of Europe, and then we saw there in the second half, they put the clamps on them and they coughed it up.
All right, well, all in all, it was a thrilling finish, and the match turned into a very impressive World Championship opener. And it's worth pointing out as well that as recently as 1998, Russia was the World Championship runner-up. A different kind of pressure then on the Tall Blacks this morning to follow that performance with another good one. Let's get a taste of what we're in for at the RCA Dome in downtown Indianapolis this morning, and bring in our commentator, Bob Monti. And Bob, what's the news on Sean Marks' ankle?
Well, good morning, Jeff. I think I've got pretty good news for you. Sean Marks did twist his ankle, and it does hurt, but he's determined to play. He's very keen to go onto the floor and do his job in this second game against Venezuela. I think he'll probably play maybe 15, 18, 20 minutes, depending on how close the game is, but he's ready to go.
Well, that's wonderful news, Bob. Looking forward to your call on the game this morning with former Tall Blacks coach Keith Mayer, just before we finish with the Russia game too. And let's face it, it is hard to leave a result like that behind. Let's get some New Zealand after-match reaction from a very satisfied Tall Blacks coach, Tab Baldwin, who was immediately thinking about the game with Venezuela.
Yeah, Oscar Torres and Carl Herrera, both NBA veteran players and both, you know, tremendous talents. Herrera's been around an awful long time. Torres is a little bit newer on the scene. They're both great athletes. And the athletic teams have caused us a little bit of trouble. You know, a team like France caused us some problems. So I expect that we're going to have to, you know, have some plans for them, and they're going to be very good. And, you know, it's a question of sitting down, getting the video and the video analysis done, and then selling the players on it and going out and doing the job that we all know we can do. I don't think it's a question of getting them up for the game. I think that they'll certainly emotionally be up, but physically we've got to recover. And, you know, tonight in recovering from the game, it's very important that we do all the things the sports scientists tell us to do, and we get the hydration, we get the rest, and, you know, our medical staff is on that now, making sure the guys do that. But we have had some letdowns after big wins. You know, we beat Australia in Game 1, lost Game 2. We beat Yugoslavia and then lost the next 2 in Germany. So it is a concern. The guys are aware of it, and we're going to do our very best to make sure that we don't have an emotional letdown after this big win today. There's no question we can do it, and I think that's where we're trying to get at this World Championship. We're trying to get from a team that believes we can win games to a team that believes we will win games, and I think the Russia win is a step in the right direction. So when we walk out on the floor tomorrow night, I hope we're a confident outfit that understands what it's going to take to win and believes that we'll do that.
And we're looking forward to that this morning. The game underway at 9:30 against Venezuela. Perhaps the most telling comment from Tab after the match was when he pointed out that this is a tournament and not a final, and that's the attitude that he would have been trying to instill in the Tall Blacks this morning. Now, it may not seem like it, but there were other matches other than New Zealand-Russia played on the opening day of the World Championship, so let's run through those results. And Brazil, an easy win over Lebanon, 102-73, and also in Group A, Puerto Rico, winning the closest match of the day, getting home by 3 over the Turks. In Group B, Yugoslavia, now they're the world champions, and remember, that's the team that New Zealand beat in Europe a week or so ago. The world champions opening with a 50-point win over Angola, and Spain beating Canada. That margin there is quite a surprise as well, 85-54, and watch for the Spanish in this tournament. They look to have started very well indeed. Now in Group C, Germany beat China by 12, and the USA, like Yugoslavia, also a 50-point winner on day 1. And New Zealand overcoming, remember, a 57-38 deficit at one stage to beat the Russians. What a final quarter that was. And Argentina, ranked number 3 in the world, looking very good in dealing to Venezuela, 107-72. All right, we're just about set to go now to the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. And Chris Tupu, the one nagging worry I have is that the Tall Blacks have shown in the recent past that nagging ability, if you want to call it an ability, to follow a good performance with one that's not quite up there.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, it's crucial that they get 2-0 before they get into that game against Argentina. As you said, they're ranked 3 in the world, so hopefully they can put back-to-back performances together. And you said there, Tab Baldwin, he wants nothing else other than a win, and he wants his troops. They've got a game plan. Obviously, they watch a bit of video. Executing their game plan is going to be very important here.
I want to pick up on something that Tab Baldwin said in his interview just then as well. He was talking about not having an emotional letdown. As he said that, you were nodding your head very wisely.
Definitely. Well, they say the lion is straight after a feed, they're most vulnerable. You know, that's probably a good thing for the Kiwis to be thinking about. They want to make sure they continue their, you know, their fourth quarter, second half efforts. And
great encouragement too from what Bob Monti had to say about Sean Marks' ankle.
Yeah, we said there the bench is going to be important in this tournament. Injuries happen from time to time, and if they can rest Sean Marks, and I think Tab Baldwin's got enough players there that he may have the luxury to do that sort of thing.
Do you think there might be a danger, though? I mean, they've known about Russia being the opening game for a long, long time. All the planning, all the video sessions have been about Russia. Now suddenly it's day 2 and it's Venezuela, and hello, we haven't actually done a lot for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit unknown for them going into this game. They don't know a lot about Venezuela, but, you know, Venezuelan team, they probably have don't know much about us either, so I think that's going to be to our advantage, and I'm picking that the Kiwis are going to come out with a 20-point victory.
Point that Bob Monti made in the highlights commentary we were watching before was that Phil Jones, the Nelson shooting guard, had a quiet game. He has a history, though, of following a quiet one with a big one.
Definitely. We saw in that series here against Hungary, Jonesy had a quiet game. I think it was the second test. He came out and knocked down 30 the next game. So Phil is renowned for that sort of thing. So I think, you know, we might see Phil catch fire today. Hope so.
We haven't been able to confirm a starting 5 as yet, but that's not far away. But we would assume, given all is well with Sean Marks' ankle, that we'd have the same starting 5.
I would say so, yeah, definitely. The second game, really important to back it up with another one.
All right, there are the live pictures now through from the RCA Dome in Indianapolis as we watch the Venezuelans going through the final part of their warm-up. And Chris, the hustle improved as the game went on yesterday against Russia. We were certainly out-hustled through that first half, but they really came back so well against Russia.
Yeah, those little things like hitting the deck and diving for the balls. We saw Pero there late in the game dive for the ball and pick up a foul on one of their key players in Kirilenko. That sort of thing is heartening for the team. It's heartening for the bench when they watch. And, you know, getting the slam dunks like Sean Marks, it really fires up the team and just continues their sort of self-belief in themselves and also in the team concept that Tab and Nina have been able to put together.
You mentioned team defence before and how much it improved as the game went on. Really, everything comes from that, doesn't it? If you get your team defence working, it spreads through the whole court.
And, you know, that leads to their offence. You know, good, solid individual defence on each of their players. You know, team defence, really having players helping out, making sure they know where, you know, where their other players are coming to attack, and then turning that defence into offence. And with a player like Mark Dickel, they're able to do that with real, you know, to good effect.
There was a shot of Pero Cameron on just a moment ago, and it was interesting chatting with Tracy Carpenter as well yesterday. You get the sense that other teams would look at a player like Pero Cameron and think, well, he's not built like a World Championship basketballer. What on earth have we struck here?
Match-up problems with Pero, you know, he looks like a big sort of lock rugby player, if you like. He's not a huge forward. He's only 6'6", but he's got a wonderful touch from the outside. He's really developed his three-point shot. And he's got a real knack of drawing fouls on the bigger players. And I think they're going to have major match-up problems with Pero. He is a world-class player, and he can play both inside and outside.
Height an issue, do you think?
No, not at all. I think we've got a number of players that can take taller players off the dribble. We look at the likes of Kirk Penny, Phil Jones, and we saw in that Hungary series against the taller opponents, they were able to take them outside and take them off the dribble and create mayhem that way.
All right, Chris, well, I'm looking forward to hearing what you've got to say at half-time. Let's go live now to the RCA Dome. As we see the teams just going through those final preparations, there's Ed Book coming on, Damon Rampton just in front of him. Let's join our commentary team for One Sport this morning. New Zealand playing Venezuela at the World Championships. And it's good morning to Bob Monti and Keith Mayer.
Thank you very much, Jeff, and it's wonderful to be here. This is the second venue that we've been in. The RCA Dome is a converted football stadium. It seats somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000. Well, I've got it down to a comfortable 33,000, Keith Mayer. What do you think of it?
Oh, it's a magnificent stadium. We'd love it in Wellington. It would keep the wind out for some of our rugby games, probably make the Hurricanes play a bit better. But right now, there are more Kiwis here than anybody else, and the support today should be wonderful.
Well, it's going to be an interesting matchup. New Zealand has to maintain the intensity that they played with yesterday. Venezuela is a very quick team. They're relatively unstructured. If things start going wrong for them, they tend to play a little bit one-on-one, what I call barnyard basketball, your turn, my turn sort of offense. But they do have a bit of offensive flair in several of their players. For example, Oscar Torres is now playing with the Houston Rockets. He's 26-year-old. And they've got another player, Victor Diaz, who's had a bit of NBA experience. He's 34, and aging Carl Herrera. He's former NBA player, but he's 36. Can they beat the young Kiwis with that kind of lineup, Keith?
Well, going on yesterday, which would have to be one of the most disappointing performances we saw on the day, Venezuela would look to be right out of it. But looking at their players, looking at their history, they have a pretty good history in basketball. They've been number 2 or 3 in South America for some years. 1991, they were actually the top team in South America. So they've got a bit of history. They've got some experience. But yesterday, they lost the plot. It looks like they'd lost their coach. Just simply weren't listening to him and had absolutely no discipline. The big fear for New Zealand is that they pull together today. And it's very important that New Zealand get on top of them, give the bench a run, and get ready for tomorrow's game after a good win today. But can't underrate Venezuela.
Not at all, and I think you put your finger right on it. This is a test the bench day. New Zealand has to give a couple of the starters a bit of a rest. They've had a very, very difficult tour leading up to this, and a great game against Russia. It would have taken a lot out of several of the players. So today is a day they want to jump on Venezuela quick and give the bench plenty of time to show their stuff. We do have players on the bench, I think, that can foot it with Venezuela, get a 10-point lead on them, and I'll be very, very happy.
Yeah, that's the key. Kiwi discipline, Kiwi composure, and don't let this team get a roll on. They'll be very similar to teams like Angola, who we played before. Simply rely on athleticism, but it will. I honestly think yesterday's loss to Argentina was a big one. Their pride will be stung, and these fellas won't want to put on a bad show today.
Not at all. It was interesting last night after the game. There are some Kiwis here. I can't count them because they are around, but walking on the streets of Indianapolis last night, you could tell the Kiwis, a nocturnal Kiwi, they were everywhere, and you could tell them because they were glowing with happiness, pride, confidence, having just beaten Russia. And we hope the same takes place today. Following this game will be America going against Germany. They play 2 games per session, and this place will fill up. There'll probably be about 12 to 15,000 fans come in to see the United States going against Germany, and they'll start coming in the second half and see quality New Zealand basketball, Keith.
I think if the American crowd, the Indianapolis people, do turn up a little earlier tonight, they'll see something that'll be quite different for them. But they'll recognize the face of Kirk Penny, who just a few months ago was in the Big Ten tournament here, scored 19 points for Wisconsin at the wonderful stadium they played in last night. Absolutely beautiful, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. Purpose-made for basketball. They've got two stadiums about 4 city blocks apart. The hotels seem to be situated right in the middle. So within about 10 minutes, you can run from the RCA Dome down to the Conseco Fieldhouse and see basketball game after basketball game. In fact, when I got home last night about 11 o'clock, I felt my eyeballs kind of bouncing around in my head. It took a while to get to sleep after watching all that great basketball. And here we go, the haka.
Well, we have the haka again, and the other team aren't going to line up and face it today. The Russians made a bit of a mess of it. Hello. Venezuelans think it's a dance.
It's wonderful to see. Venezuela probably were instructed not to pay any attention to it. They didn't want to be intimidated by the New Zealand haka. Russia, I think, was a little bit prepared for it, having seen it before, and they walked past the Kiwis last night and went straight to their bench. The Kiwis, as they were doing the haka, just turned and followed the Russians as they walked past. We're ready to go in the second game of New Zealand's campaign 2002 in the World Basketball Championships.
One little difference in this game is we actually have a slight height advantage. The Venezuelans are very athletic, but rather small. In fact, a couple of your favorites in their team, Bob, 6'3", 6'4", Carlos Morris and Muare, call themselves forwards. And at international level, 6'3", 6'4", just won't get the job done. We've got Kirk Penny and Phil Jones, both around 6'5", 6'6", who are classed as international guards, and they are super for their size.
That's a good point, Keith. Okay, New Zealand, here's the answer to the most frequently asked question in the last 24 hours. How is Sean Marks' ankle? Well, there he is. He's starting. It can't be terribly bad, and that's great news for New Zealand. Kirk Penny, 19 points last night, has got to light it up again today. One of the players, the key players, that didn't have a particularly hot shooting hand yesterday, Keith, Phil Jones, is due for about a 28, 30-point game, I think.
He showed a lot of maturity, though, Phil. He missed a few shots in the first half, and then after that became a really good team man, and then chimed in that last minute. I'm pretty sure he hit a 3, and then some free throws, finished with about 6 points in the last minute to go with Sparky's 3. So he won't have lost any confidence with that. He's ready to play. He's very experienced.
As is customary, 2 neutral referees, Nikos Pasilkas from Greece and Memda Oget from Turkey. And the game is underway. Venezuela controls the tap. It'll be interesting to see how the New Zealanders match up. First basket.
Oscar Torres with an easy 2 inside, and it's interesting that there's a change in the Venezuelan starting lineup. Muare, who they've got down as a forward, is actually starting at point guard. That makes a lot more sense.
Marks has a height advantage on number 7, Lugo, and he takes him to the hoop and jams his first 2 points.
Yeah, not a lot of help defense there from Venezuela. Big Lugo got out of the way, and Sean took it all the way to the hole uncontested.
Well, we hope we see a lot of that getting out of the way. Lugo takes a nice pass inside, floats down the lane, and collects 2. Dickel shouldn't be quite as closely marked today, I wouldn't think, Keith, as he was against Russia.
No, he might get a little bit of room to move, but he played a super game against Russia. Those steals were vital. Perra getting off the mark, but not hitting.
Both teams warming up here in the early moments, sorting each other out. Nice little shot from number 9, Oscar Torres. He's the NBA star, plays for the Houston Rockets, has very, very solid stats for them over the last 3 or 4 years.
Looked a lot more balanced there. Good matchup with Kirk Penny.
Well, it's interesting. Kirk Penny will be marking another NBA player today. He did a pretty good job on Kirilenko, the Soviet star, yesterday. And remember, Kirk Penny still in the university.
Well, Venezuela off to a hot start here. This won't be good for us. 9-2 down, and that was Victor Diaz, very experienced player, captain of the team, probably playing in his last major tournament. Kirk Penny
doesn't drop, but here's the start everybody was hoping we wouldn't see. New Zealand a bit flat, haven't been able to put the ball in the hoop, and have given up good shots early on here. And Venezuela will not roll over and play dead. New Zealand's going to have to beat them honestly. Dickel knocks it out to Phil Jones. Couldn't get up to 3.
Stone.
Marks going through the lane looking for the ball. Kirk Penny with another shot. Doesn't go down. Ball's tapped back out to him. There's his 3rd attempt. Knocks it down.
A big basket, and that's good to see Kirk on his way. He was a key factor yesterday in the 3rd quarter, pulling New Zealand back into the game. Have a look at the Venezuelan defense. It's a bit like yesterday. It's got a fair few holes in it. You could call it a bit of a sieve.
There's a new defense, a sieve defense. Lugo from the free throw line. Nice shooting.
Yeah, they showed us something there we didn't see yesterday either. That was a good outside shot. The Kiwis are going to have to step up on defense now, get in their faces, as we know they can.
Lugo, a big player. Richard Lugo, 2.07 meters. Goes high to get the rebound. Venezuela looking to run it. Diaz, 1 bounce, puts it up. It's there. They're hot.
Timeout, New Zealand. Good call, Tab. Need to settle the boys down. Need to stir them up a bit on defense. As Sparky Dickel said in the aftermatch yesterday, the New Zealand offense relies very much on good pressure defense. And Venezuela, just too many easy, uncontested shots there.
Well, they are sagging back. A 13-5 lead early on here. 6:53 left in the first period. And Tab Baldwin has to call a timeout just to get New Zealand into the game. They really haven't started yet. They haven't fired. Missing shots and giving up easy buckets inside. And Venezuela, give them their credit, they are really hot here in the opening minutes.
I guess that's the point. Venezuela yesterday against Argentina were probably as nervous as we were in the first half, and they couldn't hit the side of a house. And Argentina just took them to the cleaners from then on, never let them back in the game. But they've started today quite relaxed, nothing to lose, and it's not a good omen for us. It means we're going to have to dig deep again. And we're not going to perhaps get the easy game we thought, but it's a matter of that discipline, just sticking to your game plan, keeping your composure, putting the mental pressure on these guys, and letting them correct themselves if possible. But it's got to start with the defense again.
Absolutely. Interesting fact, Jim Calvin, formerly of Indiana State University, is the coach of Venezuela. He has been for several years now. He's trying to rebuild the Venezuelan team. In the early 90s, they were a force in South American basketball, and then things dropped away, but he says they're on the way back. That usually means they know the team isn't ready to compete in the World Champs.
He's made a lot of excuses, and I found a few of the coaches here a bit disappointing with the excuses they make, and he's got no need to. Venezuela just 4 or 5 years ago was second in South America, beating Brazil, and they've been third the last couple of South American champions. They've got nothing to be ashamed of. And he has got something to build on. You only got to look out there. There's a lot of athleticism and size, and it's up to the coach now to pull them together.
Okay, New Zealand.
Sub for New Zealand here, Dylan Boucher on for Kirk Penny. Not too sure why. I'd say Dylan's out there to maybe stir up Oscar Torres a bit. Can't let him get into that rhythm we've just seen.
Well, there's a little feast of Venezuelan shooting. Diaz, one bounce and knocks down another one. If you're in New Zealand, that hurts to see it, but New Zealand now is going to have to dig deep. And I think defensively, you're right, Keith. They've got to put a little pressure, put some bodies on the Venezuelans, knock them around a bit. That's what ignited New Zealand against Russia, becoming a little bit more physical.
A good
Kiwis
point.
like
Dylan's
that.
probably out there to ignite the defense.
Phil Jones hasn't had a shot yet. Sean Marks has had one stuff, one jam, and Kirk Penny hit a three. Good pass underneath from Sparky Dickel.
Beautiful pass, Sparky, and a good finish by Dylan Boucher. Immediately off the bench, he's created something.
Now that's a perfect definition of an assist. Dickel's pass, hard, quick, under the basket. You watch it right here. Leads straight to a basket. 2 points.
Superb pass. Any young player watching that would notice that Mark passed the ball to the gap where Dylan was moving to. Didn't wait till he got there. It was there for him. He delivered it to him on a plate.
Well, Dylan can be a little hot and cold with a free throw shooting. Remember, he won the National League title for Waikato a couple of weeks ago with 2 crucial free throws, but usually about a 30-40% free throw shooter. Yeah. Lugo gets the rebound and the putback, and it's a 15-7 lead to Venezuela.
That was Torres, and Dylan should have been had him boxed off on the weak side there. A miss by Diaz.
Phil Jones with his first three.
He's on his way.
Here we go. Now, if Jones can knock down 3 or 4 in a row, New Zealand will be right back in the ball game. 15-10. Venezuela by 5. 5:53 left in the first period. Underneath, Herrera spins, puts up a nice little jumping hook shot.
Yeah, a good shot, and inside that zone. Now, if you remember yesterday, New Zealand went to the zone in the first half as well, and the Russians got inside. But as the game ground down and the scores got closer, the Russians stopped going inside. Their point guard fouled out. They lost their composure. We've got to do the same thing to Venezuela. I'd suggest we're probably going to mix up our defenses here.
Well, we have to do something. You got to change the rhythm. You got to change the pace of the game. Inside it goes. Damon Rampton. He's pushed on the shot. Lugo picks up a foul. Early fouls against the opposition can really be crucial in the third and fourth periods. So it doesn't matter if Damon Rampton doesn't make the shot, but he draws a foul, and that's a plus.
A big plus. He's giving Sean Marks a spell. And just like Dylan Boucher, he's come on, made an immediate impact. And Lugo is really Venezuela's only big player inside. He's the only 6'10" player they've got.
17-11. Rampton, second shot. 5:34 left in period 1. Around it goes and drops out. We shot very well from the stripe last night, well over 80%. We've got to do it again today, Keith.
Back to man-to-man on the miss, but full court pressure from Sparky there, not giving them an easy time now. This is more like the intensity level's up already. It's up 20-30%.
Diaz knocks it back outside. Lugo straight to the basket.
Much
Phil
better.
Jones
Challenged the shot, forced the miss. Excellent. This is the Kiwi team from yesterday.
And our three-point expert, Harold Cameron, he's missed 2 now. He's just warming up.
Don't you call them rangefinders, Bob?
That's right, calling incoming fire. Just haven't hit the target yet.
3 seconds.
3-second call. That's a good turnover. You can just see in the Kiwis' eyes, they're just getting into the game now. They're ready to go. Paul Henry coming in. He's replacing Sparky Dickel.
Some quick subs here from Tab. He obviously wants to lift the intensity. So Sean's back in for Pero and Paul Henry.
Good to be rotating the players this early. No one's particularly hot. Keep them fresh. He's got to play with 9 or 10 players today, Keith, I think. Jones puts it on the glass. He was looking for the foul. There was no call. Diaz. Oh, nice little alley-oop. Torres finishes it off. Venezuela looking pretty flashy offensively. 19-11. 4:27.
Kiwis running their offense well now, though. They're getting good shots. Here's...
Oh, lovely block. Lugo went high, got a hand on the ball. It looked like a clean block, but he's been tagged with a foul.
He's been tagged with a foul. All right, that's 2 on him.
Look at the nice little
highlight now
pass.
of the alley-oop, but the highlight of Sean Marks taking it to the hole will be pretty good too. Here we go, in behind. Well, that was a nice block.
Oh, that was
lovely.
lovely.
Bit of hand.
Wasn't that a great camera angle? We saw it all cleanly, crisply. And Marks on the line. 19-12 makes it 13. 6 down. I think the Kiwis are into the game now, Keith.
Yep, they're looking good.
Eyes are open, they're breathing, heart rates are
Here's
up.
the extended pressure again. This is a zone press here, slowing them up, causing them another look.
Well, that's a good thing to do.
We're back into man-to-man now. There was just a little double team to
slow
upset the other team.
Venezuela up. They do not like to walk the ball up the floor. They're a run-and-gun sort of team, so if you can make them walk up, it takes them out of their rhythm. Henry with a 3.
Now, not only that, but Torres at the other end shot an air ball. So already you can feel the momentum shift.
New Zealand back to within 3, 19-16, 3:48 in the first period.
Eyes are rolling in the Venezuelan team, and there's good, tight man-to-man defense.
Lugo trying to get baseline on Marks. Oh, what a nice little left-handed shot.
A superb move. We haven't seen too much of that at this tournament. The inside men have tended to be multi-talented and play inside and out a lot, and we haven't seen too many good moves inside. That was a nice one.
Damon Repton tries his luck from the 3-point line. It goes up into the 24-second shot clock, and that's out of bounds. So the ball will go over to Venezuela. Kirk Penny checking back in, and so too is Pero Cameron, replacing Phil Jones and Damon Repton. The policy of keep them fresh continues, Keith.
You did right. There's quick subs here. Pero and Kirk back in and keeping these legs as fresh as he can, Tab. He knows this will be a 40-minute game, and as they all are, but it's going to be a matter of mentally and physically staying with this team.
Kirk Penny called for a hold. Diaz made a hold. Diaz made a nice little fake to the top and went baseline and caught Kirk Penny. Wrong-footed him, and Penny picks up his first foul.
Well, we heard a lot about Victor Diaz before this tournament. He's played college basketball in the States. He's been around a long time. They rate him very highly as a scorer, and at the start of this game, he's looking very polished.
He's looking a lot more confident than he did against
Argentina.
Indeed.
Torres is too. That's not a good sign. Can they hang in there? They need them in there for nearly 40 minutes, though, Bob.
Well, you can't do it with 2 players. Kirk Penny, nice little reverse layup, but it doesn't drop.
Nice pass from Dylan Boucher, too.
Now Torres able to run a bit. They love this run-and-gun game. Diaz launches one. This guy is smoking.
He's hot. Dylan's going to have to get in his face, though. We're still in on Torres. So what's that matchup next time down?
Underneath, Dylan Boucher protects it. Oh. He was waiting to get body slammed.
Yeah, Lugo couldn't afford to challenge that shot, though. He's already got 2 fouls, so he gave him the layup, and he missed it.
Oh,
another
nice.
alley-oop.
Beautiful early alley-oop pass.
We're down 11 here, and there's a few warning bells again.
Jumervin Juarez put that beautiful little pass up there. Nice pass inside. Pero Cameron is in the lane. He's got to get it outside. Was knocked out of bounds by Venezuela. New Zealand a bit under pressure offensively. Here's the pass, the alley-oop. Not a beautiful pass, and Lugo puts it down. Juarez. Ah, yes!
Now that's an out-of-bounds play.
If you can do it, we can do it better. Sean Marks shows us.
That sent back a message, didn't it?
In big, bold, capital letters.
And not only that, the fact we're rotating our players, hopefully their legs will be fresh near the end, but they are looking just a little tired today, and understandably. They left everything on the floor against Russia.
Well, they've got another game tomorrow. This is tough on the teams. They got 1 day off after the first round of play. That's 3 games in 3 days and then 1 day off. Diaz, a nice little turnaround jumper. Venezuela now on an 8-0 run.
Broken by the dunk. And Diaz still on a roll.
Kirk Penny from the corner. Doesn't go down yet again. We got a foul underneath. It's going to be a pushing foul.
On, looks like Torres. No, it's not Torres.
Number 6, Juarez.
Juarez.
He picks up his first. You see Penny's shot doesn't go down. There's pushing underneath. Juarez picks up the foul. Penny, a little fake, takes it to the hole. Loses the ball on the ground. Sean Marks kicks it back outside. Pero Cameron looking for Marks. Cross-court pass. Penny, he's got it.
Very patient, disciplined offense there. Finding the open man, no forced shots. And Kirk Penny, the ultimate finisher.
Well, there's 1 minute to play, Keith, and New Zealand have already given up 29 points. That's not the start you want, certainly not defensively. Pero Cameron kicks it out. We got a fast break. Penny, a fake, puts it in, and Sean Marks slams the lid on it.
Timeout Venezuela, the momentum shift again, and we're back to 6. And for a man that's supposed to have a wonky ankle, Sean Marks is running the floor extremely well.
Oh, he's motivated. Less than a minute to play, 51 seconds, in fact. Venezuela have called for a timeout, and New Zealand back in the ball game, 29-23, and we're just finishing up here with a 7-2 New Zealand run over Venezuela.
Well, 52 seconds, a long timeout here. I think this is an opportunity for New Zealand. It's Venezuela ball, bit of extended pressure, maybe something different on defence. Get a stop, try and get this lead just back a bit, but nothing to panic about at this stage, as we saw yesterday. You've got to play for the entire match. You've got to concentrate for the entire match, and it's got to be a matter of wearing these fellas down. They've made very few subs so far, Bob.
Well, that's a good point, Keith. There is nothing to worry about. In fact, there's a couple of good signs here. New Zealand starting to get into the game, and they're breaking the Venezuelan defense down. And we got 2 fouls against Richard Lugo, who's played a key role here in the first period. He's a big man. He rebounds well. He's got a out-hand shooting. And if he continues at the rate that he's getting fouls, he could have 3 or 4 before halftime, and that would be very, very disastrous for Venezuela.
Yeah, the other thing we noticed yesterday is Venezuela got no fast break points against Argentina. None in the entire game. They've got a few early ones here from us. They could be called fast breaks, but we're starting to run now. And that's where Argentina burned them yesterday. We just finished with a dunk to Sean Marks, a layup attempt from Kirk Penny, tapped in by Sean Marks, and you know, our break's we're getting running now, and that's good. Pressure defense.
And as we look ahead, remember, Venezuela is playing their second game in as many days as well. They got a couple of key players, 34 and 36 years old, and we both know that 36-year-old legs just can't foot it with 24-year-old legs. Not over 3 days of basketball.
We've seen nothing much of Carl Herrera at the moment. He's out there, number 11, but he's been around a long time. He was in a 91 team that won the South American champs, and they finished 11th in 1990 at the World Champs.
Well, Herrera's got Sean Marks in his face. That could be a reason why he hasn't done a whole lot. Boucher gets the rebound. New Zealand want to bring it up quickly. That's a good sign. Actually, if you can play a fast up-tempo game and you start hitting shots, it's actually less tiring.
We're running the clock down here to try and get the last shot so that Venezuela can't get a couple more points on us. 4 seconds to go.
Pero Cameron gets a putback, doesn't go down. Marks misses a sitter.
3 chances there. It was bad luck, but time's up.
Time expires as the ball goes off the glass. So at the end of the first period, Venezuela 29 leads New Zealand 23.
The longer you wait,
You know it's called the waiting game?
the more you score.
So you're in the lead. Who would have thunk?
The new game that's getting couples going.
He's got a book on Greek mythology.
And did he read it? Or did he just color it in? Don't cut that bit out, because I...
Well, we just saw Megan Campaign win a shooting contest here. Megan's played basketball for New Zealand for years, and she's keen to get fit again. And they've just had a shooting contest at the quarter break, and she walked away with a prize, Keith.
Played in the women's WNBA over here too in its first year, I believe, and she just gave a very severe thrashing to a Venezuelan representative on the free throw line. Good to see.
A sign of things to come, we hope.
We certainly do. Let's have a look at who's starting for New Zealand in this quarter. We're back to the starting 5.
Here's the reason. Venezuela leads by 6. Hot shooting in the first period, particularly from Victor Diaz. New Zealand going with Penny, Marks, Cameron, Phil Jones, and Sparky Dickel. A starting line out there again to start the second period. After 10 minutes of play, New Zealand trail by 6.
Diaz is 9 and Torres 8. We've got to hold them down from here on.
Phil Jones puts up a 3. Bounces high, outside, and Venezuela It's a pity. You always like to score the first 2 points in a quarter. Inside, partially blocked. That's Herrera. Couldn't get it to shot up
Herrera
cleanly.
making a move, rather tired-looking move. No elevation in his jump shot then.
Sean Marks, nice little spin straight to the basket. He jams it down and he's fouled.
And he's picked up the third foul on Lugo. I think Venezuela might have to make a sub here. They haven't got much on the bench to stop Sean Marks with. That was an excellent move by New Zealand. Excellent way to start this second quarter.
Okay, now if we want to get Lugo out of the game, this is what we do. Exactly that. Feed it into Sean Marks. Clear out, let him go 1-to-1, and we'll have Lugo on the bench in 3 minutes, Keith.
We've got Pablo Machado coming in.
Now, Machado had quite a good game against Argentina. Very athletic player, nice jump shot. But Lugo, I think, is probably the bigger danger. And if we can get him on the bench, he's got 3 fouls. We'll be in good shape. Marks, such a presence under the defensive board, gets a hand to the ball and taps it to Pero Cameron.
And Diaz forced that shot. He had a hand right in his face, and yet he forced it up. Not a good shot to take. Already, slight sign of the unraveling going on here. Oh, Herrera tips that away from Pero. Now trying to get it into Marks again while Lugo's still out there, and Lugo's going to have to back off him.
Marks spins. He's going to be called for steps. Well, that's good play. Marks knows exactly what he wants to do. Give him the ball underneath and let him spin right or left.
Nothing wrong with the tactics there. That was a very, very intelligent thing to do.
Well, they finally get Lugo off, and Machado has come on into the game for Venezuela. Number 5, Pablo Machado. Nice shooter, very athletic player. Dickel's going to be called for a foul against Juarez. Jim Calvin stalking the sideline there. He's been the coach in South America for Venezuela for a number of years.
He's also coached in Australia. Had a few years with the Geelong Supercats after Barry Barnes a few years ago.
Herrera's come to life. Nice little jump shot from in the paint.
Herrera's first points. He's on the board. No, sorry, he's got a couple before that.
They haven't scored many within the paint, but there's a couple from Herrera. 1 minute, 30 seconds into the second period. Pero Cameron tied up. That's a 5-second call. He couldn't do anything with the ball. Held on to it for 5 seconds, and it's a turnover. And you can see by the look on Tab Baldwin's face, he's not a happy coach.
Now, Carl Herrera was in Pero's face there, and Pero just didn't have the room or the vision. Nobody actually came around to make available. Phil Jones was free on the far side, but Herrera did a good job of blocking the pass.
Yeah, Herrera cut off all the lanes. He couldn't make a pass.
Venezuela looking a bit more patient at the moment.
Jones against Diaz, and he forces Diaz into a walk. Diaz made a nice little move to the hoop, but so often, Keith, I've noticed in the last few games, there's far too much steps that goes uncalled. Players are shuffling their feet. It's a bit like flash dance.
Well, we saw a cracker in the last game that Turkey played against Brazil, a fantastic game, and we saw a 4-step walk through the keyhole by one of the Turks just go totally unnoticed.
Number 9, Torres picks up his first foul. Torres, the Houston Rockets star. Just looking at the first quarter stats, New Zealand shot 38%. Venezuela shot 70% from the floor in the first period. Pero Cameron lights it up with a drive down Bloody Nose Lane.
The big man down the middle, unstoppable there. Nobody wanted to step in his way.
Who would? I certainly wouldn't get in his way. Nice quick move to the basket by Torres, but Kirk Penny followed him all the way to the baseline.
He did a good job cutting off the baseline. I think Torres was heading out of bounds to throw it back in, but the ref picked him for the foul first.
Now Penny subbed off. Here's good coaching. Penny's on 2 fouls. Immediately Dylan Boucher comes in to replace him. Now Boucher will pick up the unenviable task of trying to stay with Oscar Torres.
It's a wearing down process. We've seen a couple of subs for Venezuela too. They finally had to sub Herrera off.
New Zealand have clawed their way back into the game here. They were down by about 8 points early on. They're back to 3, 31-28. Dickel gets the rebound, trying to ignite a fast break. It wasn't on. Sean Marks posting up against Machado. He wants the ball,
got a significant height
advantage
on Machado, hasn't he?
Indeed he does. Dickel, that's a 3. Hey!
We're right there. 31-31. And a foul.
Who'd they take the foul against? Number 14. Against Sean Marks. Must have been pushing, trying to get in for a rebound, a possible rebound. So Marks picks up his first foul.
Yeah, a little bit of pushing carrying on down here, Marks and Machado.
One of the worries about Sean Marks, he is prone to fouling in big games, but I'm sure that if he gets his second, he'll get a bit of pine time. Not going to risk either his ankle or the amount of time he can play in this game due to fouls.
Good defense. Excellent. Here's the break. 3-on-1.
Oh, nice little feed from Phil Jones, and Dylan Boucher finishes it off with 2, and the Kiwis storm back. We got a 15-2 run.
Classic stuff, yeah. The momentum is really going well New Zealand's way now. The defense has picked up. Almost a turnover.
Torres, nice little move on the baseline, but 2 guys had a chopping go at him. He's fouled. He walks to the free throw line. He'll get a couple of free throws. New Zealand defensive intensity, Keith, has really picked up the last few minutes. And here's a nice pass from Phil Jones.
Oh, lovely stuff. Well finished by Dylan. He's a great finisher on the break. You'll notice, too, at this end, unless I'm wrong, the Venezuelan composure is slipping rapidly. Torres on that drive to the basket missed it and was fouled and was most grumpy and not enjoying the lifting of the Kiwi intensity.
Well, that's a good sign if Torres starts to lose his cool a bit. The rest of the team will go just slightly walkabout, and they tend to go out of their pattern, and it tends to become 1-against-1 basketball. Well, that'll play right into the Kiwis' hands, Keith. 33 all. Scores locked here. 6:32 left in the first half. The Kiwis will never abandon their pattern. They'll play with a lot of offensive control. And big Ed Book now in the game, 2.1 meters tall. Ed Book replacing Sean Marks.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with Tab subbing in this game. I think he's doing a good job keeping the legs fresh. And now the intensity levels up. I think it'll stay there.
Dickel down the lane, kicks it outside. There was no one there. He thought Perro was going to go to the corner. Little misunderstanding there. Dickel knew what he was doing.
The defense collapsed on him there, and it was pretty tough to even get the ball to Ed Book. So you're right, he was looking for Perro.
Probably looked worse than it was. Just a little misunderstanding there. Torres knocks it back outside, and the ball goes off.
Yeah, Dylan Boucher was with him all the way there. It might have looked like a bit of contact, but it's well worth the risk right now because Torres is looking a little tired. He's down on his knees. He's breathing hard, and Dylan Boucher isn't going to give him an inch. He's going to run the court. In fact, I think he might have picked up an injury there.
Well, Dickel is blocked as he tries to make a cut to the basket. And that's the little guard, Alejandro Quiroz. Picks up his first foul.
Torres limping off here.
Yes, Torres not looking a happy man. He's replaced by Carlos Morris.
Yes, your man, your favorite player from yesterday, Carlos Morris, 6'4".
Well, I like the mixture of names.
It's a good Spanish name, Bob. You know that.
Indeed. Ed Book.
Well done,
puts it on the glass, and Phil Jones gets another offensive board. Here's Perro Cameron launching one.
He hasn't got one to go today, but he will.
Diaz off the glass. Falls down, taking
textbook stuff, Bob. Textbook stuff. Off the backboard, finish the break.
Venezuela by 2, 35-33, 5:22 left in the first half. Inside it goes to Boucher, number 15. That's Carlos Morris, picks up his first foul. Venezuelans fouling a lot now, Keith. We see here, watch this shot. Diaz goes up, jumps into Dickel, comes down. Dickel provides a little landing pad for him.
Tough shot, but I don't think there was a foul either way there in the end.
Oh, Jones tries to do a nice little left-handed shot. Fortunately, Ed Book picked it up.
Yeah, he was looking for a foul there. It was a very good out-of-bounds play again.
And number 8, Quiroz, picks up another foul. That's number 3 on Quiroz. Just came into the game a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, fouls coming in bunches here now, and this is because the Kiwis are not only attacking with their defense, out of the defense, they're much more positive on at the other end of the floor.
Actually, Venezuela fouling themselves into a hole here. Already the fouls counting up against several key players. New Zealand had 1 foul in the first period. Venezuela 4. They've probably doubled that total.
They've got 5 in this quarter already. Just about half the quarter
rebounds. Quiroz with the ball. Now they're setting something up. They're very quick going to the hoop. Morris, corner, Diaz.
With Torres and Herrera and Lugo out of the game, they've really only got 1 scorer left, and that's Diaz. We saw yesterday the bench didn't have a lot going for them.
Now the offense is looking a bit frantic, and New Zealand protecting the defensive board, rebounded easily, Dickel up quickly, and now they'll set it up and go methodically against the Venezuelans. This is good New Zealand basketball. We're down by 1, 35-34.
Every foul now is 2 shots, so we can... Oh, what a pass.
Oh, yes.
And another foul. What a pass.
We'll see this again, I'm sure. Pero Cameron. Nice little bounce pass between his legs, and Dickel almost finishes it off. Watch this. Beautiful basketball.
Pero keeps a straight face as if to say, I do that all the time.
Is that
he
understanding?
Hasn't cracked a smile at any stage.
Dickel would have made the 2 points, except somebody had a hold of his wrist and he had to drag the shot.
Yeah, Quiroz, for a short guy, just can't stay with him, can he?
No, he can't. He's not quick enough. 35-34, Venezuelan lead by 1, and Venezuela's called a timeout here. They really have to sort out their defense. Even though they're leading, they don't look a confident team going into the second half, Keith.
No, that's their 6th foul. Not only that, but Oscar Torres still looking pretty unhappy. I think not only was there a bit of fatigue, but he definitely rolled his ankle at some stage when he took that shot where Dylan Boucher was all over him.
Well, another interesting little stat. New Zealand 11, Venezuela 6 this quarter. So New Zealand storming back into the game here. It's close. That's what we like to see, but down the stretch, we want to see New Zealand pull away by 10, a comfortable 15 or so. That would be a good finish for this game.
I think a good finish would just be the win, to be quite honest. But it'll be really good to see all the bench get a run, and for Chad to be able to rest players like Sean Marks with his ankle, keep the inflammation down. Big Pero, some of the other players like that, play them as few minutes as possible. But at the same time, don't want to drop a game to a team like Venezuela, not at any stage.
No,
even though this game may not count when we go to the second round.
Well, it's the second day of the tournament. We've had a couple of very, very close games this morning. Angola beat Canada, quite a surprise there, but Canada not a happy tournament. 4 of their best players pulled out and didn't come to the tournament. They went down 84-74. Puerto Rico beat Lebanon. That was quite expected. 99-77, but the second games this morning were fantastic. Spain hung on to beat Yugoslavia by 2, 71-69. And Turkey, after leading most of the game, went down to Brazil by 2, 88-86, and had a 3-pointer with 1 second left to play in the game.
Right on the buzzer. 2 meters outside. Planned move.
And back to this game. Good shot of Sean Marks. Now Dickel will be shooting 2 free throws. Didn't make that the basket. The slick little pass from Pero Cameron misses the first free throw.
Sean Marks back on for Pero Cameron here. Again, keeping the boys as fresh as possible. Big rebound from Marks.
Gives it off to Ed Book. Ed Book throws it outside, but right to Diaz.
Well, Kiwis played in white yesterday. I wonder if Ed thought they were still in white when he made their pass.
Diaz comes high, takes a shot. He's a little off balance. I'm glad he took it because it wasn't a high percentage shot. Jones. Hayes got 3. Pushed into the crowd. Where's the call, Rip? Where's the call?
You could see we had a good shot of that one. Phil Jones beautifully on balance for that shot.
Phil Jones, if he gets hot, he'll bury the Venezuelans with 3s. Into the corner. Venezuelan shooting not good now. They're really forcing shots. not high percentage ones. They were making all of those in the first period. Ed Book with a three-pointer. Well, Mark's got his hand to the ball, so the New Zealanders get another 24 seconds to play with it.
That'll be a foul on Ed Book, I'm afraid. Leaning into the screen. Set a good screen, no need to lean on it, and a pretty obvious foul.
New Zealand 36 leads Venezuela 35. Torres comes back into the lineup.
Yeah, we've got Torres and Herrera back in. They need some offensive firepower. That five for Venezuela were almost devoid of options. It ended up Diaz taking 4 shots all the time.
Well, for as much as I said about Machado, he's done nothing with the ball so far. He hasn't handled it. Herrera on the baseline against Sean Marks. Trying to make a move to the hoop. Gets up a nice shot. It's there.
There was a bit of class from Carl Herrera there.
That had to be down memory lane for a 36-year-old.
Here comes here's Phil Jones, a step-back move.
Doesn't go down. Little Dylan Boucher. You beauty, the hustling. Dylan Boucher gets a weak side rebound, pushes a Venezuelan out of the way and gets a 2.
Yeah, the Venezuelan fella didn't use his body there, and Dylan just slipped around him. Beautiful move.
Herrera looking underneath for his teammate Machado. Machado had turned, thought Herrera was going to put the shot up. Well, you can see the unhappiness in the faces of the Venezuelans. Things not going well offensively, Keith.
No, they're hanging in there, though. It's still just a 1-point game. Ed Book coming off now. Pero Cameron keeping the shuttle service going.
Venezuela will not lie down and go to sleep, but they will get a little ragtag if things go against them here.
Inside to Cameron. Good move.
Nice little hook shot. Doesn't go down. Look at Sean Marks.
By Sean Marks.
Playing the glass like a piano.
Oh.
Back up it goes. Doesn't go down, but it's great to see some offensive firepower on the rebounding.
The intensity of Sean Marks. I haven't seen an NBA player at this tournament playing like Sean Marks. They've all been playing within themselves. They've all been running out with NBA stamped on their foreheads. He's just out there working as hard as he can. And the frustration because he missed that shot. He's got nothing to be frustrated about. He's really working hard. He's frustrated himself, nothing else.
Well, he's a class act. He says he enjoys playing for New Zealand, and he turns up whenever he can. And when he's on the court, as you say, he's giving it 100%. Great to see it.
Well, the Kiwis have won, I think it's 3 or 4 games on this tour, and he has been a key factor in all of them.
Well, he gives them so many offensive options.
Torres is frustrated by that trapping defense there. Half-court trap. He didn't like a little bit of contact.
Nice 3. It's there. That's number 9. Oscar Torres.
Brings him back to 1.
The Houston Stars shoots a rocket. 40-40. Scores locked here. We got 1:59 left in the first half. New Zealand were down at one stage. 17-10, and they've come back to lock up the game. Boucher steps out of bounds. They couldn't get up a shot. Good defensive intensity there.
Yeah, the offense went all right there. I thought Dylan got a wee bump out of bounds. Maybe it, as it turned out, not a great pass in the end, but still running the plays well. Got a timeout on the floor here.
1 minute and 50 seconds. Now we've got a bit of a question here. The scoreboard says 40 all, and just a moment ago on the screen you probably would have seen 41 to Venezuela, 40 New Zealand. And there it is again. We don't know which is correct. I'll probably go by the official scoreboard up there. 40 all. They probably thought that it was a three-pointer from Oscar Torres. I'm sure they'll get that sorted sooner or later. Let's call it a 40 all ball game. 1 minute, 50 seconds left in the first half.
Well, unless something sensational happens in the next 2 minutes, we should go into halftime with a pretty even situation. All set to start virtually the second half with the game wide open. But at that stage, maybe the fouls on the Venezuelans. It's already Lugo, and I think Quiroz has got 3, and a few others with 2. And Tab's policy of rotating the players, mixing his defenses. There was a little half-court trap that last time. All these things keeping the Venezuelans from settling back into a routine. Right at the start of the game, they were in a flow, and if they could have played the whole game like that, I think they'd have run away with it. But no way is this Tall Black team going to let them get into their rhythm again.
Indeed, Keith. And now they've just changed the score. I see New Zealand was up by 1. I thought it was probably the mistake should have gone Venezuela's way because Torres was the last player to score, and it looked like a three-pointer, but they gave him 2 for it, and it is a 40-all ball game. 1:50 left to play in the first half. New Zealand, if they could get a 4 or 5 point lead, Keith, we'd be in the driver's seat, as they say.
Yes, well, I'd back our defense in the second half, as long as the intensity can stay there like it did against Russia yesterday, because it was that second half yesterday where it was so clinical, it was so effective, it was so tight that down the stretch, that's where your mind starts playing little games with you. And the frustration we're already seeing before the halftime whistle from these Venezuelans is going to increase if the Kiwis can just keep that defense up and not give away fouls.
Well, there you see a little montage of Torres' class. The Houston Rocket pouring in 3 baskets there for 6 points. Leading scorer for New Zealand at this point is Sean Marks. He's on 11. For Venezuela, number 9, Torres has 11. And also number 4, Diaz has 11 points.
And they're bringing Diaz back on for this last couple of minutes. Probably a good move. He's only got 1 foul.
Diaz will be marked. New Zealand's gone to a zone. Boucher's come up. It's a 1-2-2 zone.
1-2-2, yep. Very effective against Russia yesterday.
Well, this is good. It switches defensive positions on him, and Diaz hits a great shot from the corner.
That's great, isn't it? You come straight off the bench and you hit a 3-pointer from the corner.
Well, he's showing himself to be a much better player than he looked yesterday. He's into this game and shooting very well, Keith.
Without doubt. A good move by them.
Perro doesn't go down, but he gets his own rebound. Cross-court pass. Boucher. He's got it.
Beautiful. Great pass from Perro. Great vision, and well finished again by Dillon. You said before the game, Bob, somebody off the bench had to do something today. I think Dylan Boucher's done that. Offensively, defensively, and his rebounding. And Perro, a cheap little foul there. Torres trying to run the baseline. Perro decided that he'd do a bit of linebacking practice on him.
Well, he built a wall there just for Torres to run into. He collects a foul. That's only his first foul, Keith, so no foul trouble. Yeah. Jim Calvin here looking a little bit nonplussed.
I think he's a little concerned by that foul, actually. He can't afford Torres to run into Perro too often.
No, indeed. People know when they played against Perro Cameron, you can see it on the look. The look in their face is 3 minutes into the game, and they've been maneuvered out from under the basket 3 or 4 times. And no whistle.
Effortlessly, I might add, too.
Full no
body
whistle.
balance.
They do not like playing against Perro. Torres makes both free throws, and it's a 45-42 lead to the Venezuelans. Paul Henry takes it very quickly to the baseline, and he gives it off to Boucher.
Excellent again by Paul Henry, pushing the ball up. Finished with a shot at the basket. I think it was by Dylan Boucher. Drawing the foul, puts Venezuela in even more pressure. Now can Dylan just finish with a point or two?
Nice little pass from Henare. Boucher just doesn't drop, but he's on the free throw line. I think we'd rather have the shot go down than to watch the free throws.
He's such a good finisher, but then again, he was fouled.
Come on, Dylan, knock it down. Now, Perro's claiming he's fouled. Herrera jumps in front of him and holds him.
Yeah, lucky break there, because that was an air ball, and you don't normally get a second chance on those.
That's 2 air balls from Dylan Boucher. He looks completely unworried about it. He's not too concerned.
Now, what do you reckon, Bob? 2 range finds? This will go nothing but swish.
Yep, incoming fire will be right on target this time, Keith.
Nope.
It's getting closer.
Short Marks, a little push in the back on number 13 there.
Kicks it back out to Jones.
Aurelio.
45 seconds left in the first half. Boucher backing in against Heredia. Paul Henry off the glass and in. Nice move to the hoop. 45-44. Venezuela by 1 with 25 seconds left in the first half.
Looking to run the clock down again. They've 4 men deep on the baseline. Juarez with the ball, just using up time.
Well, the theory here is to score the last shot and leave no time for New Zealand to get it. And the foul is going to be called against Paul Henare. Diaz comes up high and takes a 3, and Paul gives him a little bit of a push, and that's a 3 free throw foul.
We might see a replay of that. Paul's
Ouch.
pretty sure he didn't touch him.
16 seconds to play, and Tab Baldwin calls a timeout. New Zealand trailing by 1, but Diaz has 3 free throws to come as soon as the timeout finishes.
Right, Diaz got 3 free throws, but we've got the last shot, so Tab will be drawing up something now. Probably something they've practiced, just reminding them what to do. Use up most of that 16 seconds, take the last shot, and the very worst that could happen from here, or that should happen, shouldn't use would or could, is that we should be no more than 4 points down. The very best, we could actually be a point or 2 up, but it depends on Mr. Victor David Diaz, whether he hits 1, 2 or 3 of these shots.
That's right, and who gets the rebound if he misses. Keith, I've got a question for you. We often see this situation. Now, there's 16 seconds left. Obviously, New Zealand's going to go for the last shot. At what point do you start going into a motion to get somebody free? Normally, somebody stands outside bouncing, dribbling the ball, counting down the clock. How many seconds does it take to set up a good shot?
Well, you saw Muares there set up that what should have been a shot with 5 seconds to go, and they took it with 16. I think with 16 seconds to go, you need to be running that last motion with 6 or 7 to go. You've got to give yourself a chance, if the shot misses, of getting the offensive rebound. But at the same time, New Zealand could very well have some sort of motion that takes 10 to 15 seconds to run. Something out of the triangle, the sideline triangle, or maybe just something like one of the out-of-bounds plays with a few screens in it. We'll see.
Okay.
Fascinating stuff. But first, we've got to see what happens to the last shot.
Well, there's plenty of theories on when you start your last movement. Personally, I'd like to see teams start a little bit earlier with about 10 or 9 seconds to go, because so often they end up putting up a forced shot with about 1 second left on the clock. But anyway, that's all speculation. Back to the game, and Diaz has the first of 3 free throws to come right now. He makes the first, and the lead goes to 2. Two to come. Diaz looking cool as cool can be.
He's certainly stroking the ball well today, but the shots he's missed have been when that hand's been in his face. And I'm sure Tab will be running that message through.
That was
that's a good sub, you see. You'll make Carlos Morris coming on for Victor Diaz, so he doesn't pick up another foul. They've got Torres off, Herrera off. They don't want any fouls on their key players right now.
Time ticking down. We're down to 10 seconds.
Play.
8 seconds.
Marks on the baseline. Jones to the weak side.
Jones with the 3. It's in! What a beauty! 48, 45, 47 that is, and a long toss the length of the court.
Well, it's all set up for the second half now, Bob.
Well, the scores finish up. Venezuela 48, New Zealand 47. What do we have to do in the second half, Keith, to build on that? Good comeback.
We can't afford to start soft, and I'm sure Tab will be giving the message. We allowed Venezuela their rhythm. They got 48 points on us. I would actually suggest that if they get 48 points on us in the second half, we could very well lose this. We don't want that. We must defend them better. We must make sure that we challenge every shot. At the same time, 2 things on offense: run the break and be disciplined if we don't get the break.
Okay, we'll be back for the second half in just a few minutes. New Zealand 47, Venezuela 48.
They can do and what can be done. Half-time in our live basketball feature match from the World Championships. New Zealand playing Venezuela 48-47 the score. Once again, the New Zealanders away to a slow start. The momentum running their way a little bit through the second quarter. New Zealand lifting the intensity and getting back on level terms at 31 all and pushing on towards half-time. So Venezuela ahead by 1. We have expert comment this morning from former Tall Black Chris Tupu. Chris, your thoughts on that first half?
Yeah, Venezuela got off to a pretty hot start. I think they hit 6 out of 7 of their first shots. You know, I think the players for Tab, he's rotated about 9 of their 12 players.
That's been a feature of it, hasn't it? Yeah, the way Tab's rotated the bench?
Definitely. Kurt Penny's had big rest. Mark Diggles had a big rest. And those players have come in off the bench, players like Dylan Boucher and Paul Henare, and done a really good job. Sean Marks down low on the block. He looks really... he's got it all over that guy, Lugo. And he's on foul trouble, I think. So
yes, he is.
Some momentum sort of, you know, for New Zealand, I think, in a sense, although it's a close game.
Came out soft again, though.
Yeah, I mean, they did shoot the ball pretty well there, but they've got to get a hand up. And you know, in the second quarter, when they did get a hand up on these shooters, they made a little bit of a comeback. But they're sort of just trading baskets. And Although I think they may be picking up a few team fouls, which is a crucial thing. They've got some ageing players in that Venezuela team. I don't know that they're going to like that pace for the rest of the game.
Standout performance for you in the first 20 minutes?
I think Phil Jones done some, you know, he's done some good things off the ball, and I think Pero Cameron's done a few good passes, and then Sean Marks, you know, down low in the block, when he gets the ball in the right position, it's money.
He's been looking great, hasn't he?
Really smooth.
All right, well, that's Sean Marks, one of the star players of the first half. We're in the half-time break in the New Zealand-Venezuela match at the Basketball World Championships, and it is just another example there of the incredible skills that the youngsters have, and that's all part of the half-time entertainment. But not long to go now before the second half of this crucial match is underway. New Zealand playing Venezuela, and in a moment we'll look at the highlights, the stats from the first half. We'll be back for more chatting, more from the basketball, the 20 minutes of the second half. Stay with us. Talking about that earlier on, how he often follows a quiet game with a big one. He is more involved today. Phil Jones, the Nelson shooting guard, and the Tall Blacks down by 1 at half-time. Venezuela leading 48-47. And we're in the half-time break in the New Zealand-Venezuela match at the Basketball World Champs. It is tight. Chris Tupu, what do you think the message is in the Tall Black camp right now?
Well, one of their players, Diaz, has 17 points at half-time. Tab is not going to be happy with that. And look for somebody to step up and put the clamps on him. And I think controlling the tempo is going to be important for the Kiwis and Tall Blacks, to keep pushing the ball at them, keep attacking, and keep applying some, you know, defensive pressure. And, you know, if we can do that sort of thing, then maybe our offense will turn into, you know, maybe we'll get some fast break baskets and maybe put a lead on these guys.
More of Kirk Penny in the second half?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of him and a lot more of the starters maybe in the second half. But maybe, look, you know, Tab may look to keep rotating the players early in this third quarter. Again, he wants to keep his sort of starters fresh for that final quarter.
It is a test for the bench overall, though, isn't it? You've got to look beyond this game against Venezuela. Certainly a game against Argentina to come tomorrow. A very busy week ahead. You can't keep relying on the same guys.
That's right. And, you know, of note, Dylan Boucher's stepped in. He's played some good defence, pulled down some rebounds, and I think he's got 8 points at half-time, which is really good for someone coming off the bench. That's the sort of efforts that is needed from those bench players.
What do you think it's like in the Venezuelan camp right now?
I think they'll be pretty happy with what they've done so far. You know, Lugo sitting there on 3 fouls. He's really their only sort of presence in the post there that can match up with Marks. That's going to be a crucial factor. Are we able to exploit that and get the ball in the right positions to Sean Marks and the like in the paint there? You talk about exploiting that. It's a rare opportunity for the Tall Blacks. They have a height advantage. Yeah, not really. It doesn't happen very often. No, it doesn't happen very often. So, you know, look for Sean Marks to get involved early in the game. And, you know, for them to just keep running through their offensive patterns. They look pretty comfortable when they execute in their half court. And I think defence is really going to be the key for them to step up this. And it's great to see Sean Marks. Doesn't seem to be any problem with that ankle. His intensity, that's great. Yeah, no, he's getting up and down the court fine. And some great post moves. He's really polished his post moves. And they come naturally, yeah. Well, there we have the stats from the first half. There's the story of the first 20 minutes. The bench points, 14 to the Tall Blacks against none to Venezuela. Excellent stuff, yeah. Dylan Boucher having 8 of those, so good stuff. I know Paul Hanari had, you know, came off and did a good job, pushed the ball a couple of times and got a one quick basket there in one of the offences. So dominating the boards as well. 24-14, yeah, that's a huge stat. Venezuela haven't missed from the free throw line. Again, the three-point shooting from New Zealand, we will put them up there. And we have the shooters, and they're not shy. They're going to keep shooting them. Kirk Penny, I think we saw there, had 3 shots in a row and nailed his last one. So. All right, let's now have a look at the highlights from the first half, starting with the New Zealand haka, Sean Marks, to the forefront. Let's rejoin our commentator, Bob Montai.
Well, that was just vintage Sean Marks. First half highlights. Diaz really did the job on New Zealand in the first period. Venezuela shot 70% in the first quarter, and all you're going to see here is the ball dropping through the hoop. They cooled off slightly in the second period. They're shooting 59% from the floor overall, and that's the kind of offense that has left New Zealand 1 point in arrears. However, there are a few good signs for New Zealand. And one of them is that for Venezuela, this is an absolute must game. they're figuring that if they're going to get to the second round, they have to beat New Zealand, and as a result, they've played all of their starters, all 5 starters, 17 minutes or more in a 20-minute half of basketball. Fatigue is going to be a factor in the second half, and I think New Zealand can exploit that. New Zealand, on the other hand, 3 of the starters have played 17 minutes. Mark Dickel has played 13, Kirk Penny 9. Dylan Boucher has come off the bench to play a very good role, playing 14 minutes in the first half. Now you're seeing some of the Kiwi highlights. Phil Jones finished the half with a 3-pointer to bring New Zealand back to within 1. New Zealand, compliments of Harold Cameron and Sean Marks, out-rebounded Venezuela 24-14, and that probably led to the 15-2 margin in second chance points. Keith, that's a very good statistic. The one worrisome thing, and it's always a worry to me, New Zealand shot 50% from the free throw stripe, 7 of 14, even 80% shooting, and we'd have a relatively comfortable lead, whereas Venezuela shot 7 of 7, 100%.
Yeah, it's a funny thing how free throws can play a part in a game. Take away that stat, the dominance on the boards is great to see, but it's funny that we've got a dominance on the boards. We're getting all those second chance points, and yet Venezuela have scored 6 points off the break. We've only scored 4. Now, if we're getting the ball off the boards, we should be running every time, keeping that pressure up. At this stage, they're obviously getting back quite well and stopping the break, but I think it's got to be that sustained pressure at both ends of the court. Looking at the tip-off here, Lugo's back on his 3 fouls. Apart from that, no changes in the Venezuela lineup, and the Kiwis with their normal starting 5. Good to see Kirk Penny back on. Tab did a good job there getting him out with 2 fouls. So we're at full strength for the second half.
Well, that's right. Scoring shared around amongst the Kiwis. Jones had 8. Sean Marks led the team with 11. Kirk Penny had 8. Dylan Boucher came off the bench to score 8. For Venezuela, 17 to Victor Diaz, 15 to Oscar Torres. Herrera, 8, and Richard Lugo, the big man with 3 fouls, had 8. So we got 20 minutes of basketball left. A must game for Venezuela and New Zealand. Really want to seal their march into the second round with a win over Venezuela right here, right now. Marks on the baseline, looking for it inside. Dickel puts up a 3. Weak side rebound goes Venezuela's way. I love to see them score first, the opening of a period, but they didn't do it again.
No, something broke down on the Kiwi defense there too. Carl Herrera left free under the basket, picked up an easy 2. Well, we don't want these Venezuelan fellas to get their confidence up. At the moment, they're in a tight game.
Makes it a little harder for New Zealand. Sparky Dickel starts the third period with a couple of 3-pointers that don't drop. Venezuela by 3 now.
It's an important part of the game.
Lugo tries to bounce the ball off Pero Cameron's foot. Doesn't work, and Dickel comes up with it. Cameron passes up the 3. It goes inside to Marks. He's got the hot hand, and Herrera can't stay with him. Lugo gets up to swat the ball away, and the ref says it was on its downward flight to the basket.
That was goaltending, all right.
Watch this as he goes up. Yes, the ball was coming down as Lugo got a hand to it.
May not have been going in, but it was coming down.
Actually, it would have been short, I'm sure of it. Whack. Okay, 50-49. Compliments of Richard Lugo. Diaz, oh, nice little fadeaway jump shot.
He likes that step-back move. Couple of dribbles, step back, and it's very hard to defend.
Good elevation, about 6'7". That's 2 meters tall. Dickel goes down on the floor. There must be a little bit of moisture on the floor. That's
nice
unfortunate.
Backdoor cut by Mark and a nice pass from Sean Marks. But yeah, Sparky lost the tracks on his feet then.
Well, they have to check the spikes he's put in those shoes.
They take this Venezuelan crowd out of the factor too.
Yeah, they're a happy crowd. They're making a lot of noise. And inside, the foul is going to be tagged against Pero Cameron, number 11. That's Pero's second foul. Nobody in foul trouble for New Zealand. Fouls went New Zealand's way in the first half. Venezuela committed 12, New Zealand 8. 2 key players for the Venezuelans on 3. Diaz goes to the hoop. Herrera gets the ball, puts it off the glass.
It was good help defense from New Zealand, but then Herrera came in the gap and picked up the second shot. It's not the start we wanted, I must confess. I'm just getting a little nervous here. I would like to see us hit a couple of good baskets and really get after them on defense.
Well, Dickel doesn't look his old self. He's just not firing at the moment, not as intense as he normally is. Phil Jones calms
just
things
what
down.
we needed.
54-42 compliments of a three-pointer from Phil Jones. Juarez feeds inside to Lugo. Lugo's got 3 fouls. We get 4 on him. That'll
He'll be out
change
of
the
the game.
complexion of the game. Keith.
Travel.
Venezuela give the ball over on a travel. Paul Henare comes in for Sparky Dickel. Again, I think a good substitution.
Yeah, you picked that one, Bob. Sparky just a little out of sorts. He'll be back, though. You know that.
Oh, indeed.
The longer he sits on the bench, the more he'll want to be out there.
Sparky's not done short-circuiting just yet. And the foul is going to be charged against Phil Jones, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was a Hollywood. I'm sorry, but if we see a replay of that, Phil spun off Torres's body to get free, and Torres just fell over and made a groan. And the referee, who wasn't in a position to see it, made the call.
I could hear.
Here we go. Here it is.
Everyone in Reefton groaning on this foul.
Well, yes, he made quite a lot out of that. Good
That's
acting.
a yellow card. If this were soccer, Torres would have a yellow card. Going down.
Yeah, there's Diaz forcing it again. Good sign. Good stuff. Push it, Paul.
Sean Marks athletic. Gets another big rebound. And again, the Kiwis a little bit sloppy, bringing the ball over halfway. Almost lose it. Juarez hounded Henare and almost took the ball away. Jones will inbound the ball. New Zealand looking a little flat right now. They've got to pump themselves up. This might do it. A 3 from Penny. No, Perro into the lane. He's pushed by Diaz.
Yeah.
Diaz collects his second foul, and the fouls again are going to start mounting up on Venezuela, I think, Keith.
Well, I think if we will probably see Tab keep Sean and Perro inside quite a lot while they're picking up these fouls, and that's a pretty good move. Perro in particular. It's good to see him in there. He hasn't hit an outside shot. Phil Jones again. This is just what the Kiwis need.
Little
Phil to
Reefton
find his
rush.
stroke.
Jones is so good coming off a pick. He never has to put the ball on the floor. He takes a pass, elevates vertically, swish.
One motion.
54 all. Scores locked. Lugo backing in against Sean Marks. Nice battle between the two big men. Lugo controls it. He's going for a reverse layup. He had an easy one. And Herrera finishes.
There, just picking up the loose ball again.
No boxing off from the big men. And Venezuela able to get up 3 shots, and they scored on the third. Phil Jones, turn around, fadeaway, going away from the basket.
He was going to shoot that before he caught it. He knows he's on fire at the moment. Now let's clamp it down at this end.
Diaz, little push, the ball doesn't drop, and Perro's mugged underneath. Another foul against Venezuela.
Yep.
This time it's Carl Herrera. He's got 3.
He has indeed. Herrera's got 3. Lugo's got 3.
There's a little storm cloud over Carl Herrera's head right now. He's not a happy chap.
Another reason to get the ball inside to Perro, Cameron, and Sean Marks, because they're being marked by Herrera and Lugo.
Well, that's right. You want to give it to Marks and just clear out. Play a little NBA basketball right now. Let him go one-on-one. Ducking and diving, and Nare
We've
takes
got another
it inside.
foul. Who's that one on? Number 6. That's the guard.
Number 6 is Juarez. Yumervin Juarez. Ed Book comes into the game to replace Perro Cameron. Ed Book had 4 minutes the first half, played pretty well.
Well, Ed just might pick up a foul on one of these fellas too. It's all part of the tactics right now.
So Phil Jones has scored 7 straight points for New Zealand. He's got
all
the hot
7 in the second half, is he?
The smoking pistol. Kirk Penny tries to get into the act, but misses the 3.
I'd love to see them both firing at once.
Scores locked, 56 all. Lugo doesn't go down, and Penny gets a rebound.
Big rebound, Kirk Penny.
Kirk Penny's turned into the complete basketball player, offensively, defensively. Big Ed Book, little turnaround hooky.
Yep. Paul Henare pushing it up there. He's got that fire in his eyes right now, and Ed Book there to finish it off. Excellent finish.
New Zealand playing a zone. This is good, mixing up the defenses. Diaz has to bail out with a long three. I don't think time was up there, but he certainly thought it was and launched a long distance air ball, really. Underneath, Kirk Penny spins. One step, baseline, doesn't go down.
He was looking for the foul on Diaz there, didn't get it. Still seemed to be a reasonable balance on the shot.
Well, that's one thing about Kirk Penny, Keith. He's got a fantastic, almost a textbook shot. From the waist up, he's in balance every time, no matter what push, what directions he's been going. It's just a classic jump shot. Foul's going to be called on Phil Jones underneath. Now that's 3 on Phil Jones. He's scored 7 straight for the Kiwis to give them a 2-point lead, 58-56, with 4:48 left in the third period. The timeout is called by New Zealand. No, it's charge against Venezuela. Probably a good time for them to take a timeout. They're not looking particularly composed right now.
Well, it's pretty even again. Kiwis have made a good start after the couple of quick baskets by Venezuela. But Phil Jones has got, and that Ed Book finish on the layout on the fast break that we just saw, got them 2 up. And the fouls in this half, that foul on Phil Jones is pretty critical. He was marking Oscar Torres, who's always a handful. And it could well be that they might just zero in on Phil there. So look for Tab perhaps to bring Dylan back on, but he'd be loath to do that while Phil's hitting.
Well, you just mentioned Torres, and I just checked the score clock. Torres has 1 foul and 13 points. I'd like to see about 3 fouls on him. This is a guy who plays for the Houston Rockets, loves to handle the basketball, and he can put it in the hoop. For 4 years, I think it is now, he's had very, very solid stats, about 16 points per game, probably 5 or 6 assists.
Yeah, he's been relatively quiet after the first quarter, though. First quarter, he was on fire. He and Diaz started the game red hot. This, right now, I think is a pretty critical time of the game. The third quarter, the time to clamp down, establish yourself. Kiwis have managed to get a 2-point lead. We just lost the ball on that turnover, the foul on Phil Jones. Pretty important time to really get the talk going on defense and push on.
Well, the chips are down. This is New Zealand's second appearance in a World Championship. Second round, having just coming off a big, big win against Russia yesterday. And now they're playing a must game against Venezuela. Not particularly a must game, but for Venezuela, they must win this if they've got any show of going into the second round. So they're not going to lay down and give up easily.
There is a sub here. Dylan Boucher is on for Phil Jones. And Venezuela have taken the chance to give Lugo a break. Bring on Machado. So both teams protecting their players with 3 fouls.
Pablo Machado, 99 kgs, 2.08 meters tall. Big boy, good leaper, good shot, but he's not really had the ball much in the first half. Juarez outside, figuring out that New Zealand is playing a zone. Baseline move by Torres, and Big Ed Book pulls down the rebound. Good defense.
Good outlet.
Kirk Penny, little fake.
Looked at the basket.
Nice pass underneath. The shot was rejected by 2 men. They call the foul, and Machado can't believe it. Shaking his head there. He thought he got nothing but leather. A wry smile on Tab Baldwin's face.
It didn't look a bad block from here, did it? We'll see the replay right now.
Call it yourself. Oh.
Not a lot of body in that. Never mind. We've got 2 shots. He made a very good cut. Very good acceleration, change of pace.
That was like Kirk Penny throwing a little volleyball setup pass, and they spiked it out of bounds. Never mind, he collects the first free throw, and New Zealand into a 59-56 lead.
Dylan Boucher in there, nearly got an offensive rebound off the missed free throw.
Well, in the first half, the lead was changed 6 times. Score was tied 4 times. New Zealand has equaled their largest lead of the game, 3 points. One stage, Venezuelan led by 11 in the first period. Sean Marks is called for a foul. That's going to be number 2 on him. leading Kiwi scorer with 13. Fresh troops coming into the game for New Zealand. Number 11, Pero Cameron comes back in, and you're right, Keith. Here's the little spark plug, Dickel.
Sparky back on. He'll be fired up. Nobody likes to sit on the bench, but Sparky hates sitting on the bench.
Indeed. AC or DC this quarter. What's it going to be?
He'll have that light in his eyes now. Machado misses that first.
Thomas Machado makes the second. 57-59. New Zealand by 2. Dickel hasn't played particularly well by his standards so far. You can see the look on his face, though. He loves the game. One of the most competitive guys I've ever seen, apart from his father, Keith. Closely marked by Torres. Torres picks up the foul, and here's the youngster showing the old NBA pro what not to do.
Yeah, a fairly silly foul, actually, out near halfway, but good for New Zealand because we're in the bonus now. They've got 5 team fouls. Should be 2 free throws here.
I think that was just a little rush of ego to the mind there. Torres just thought, here's a youngster. I'll show him what it's like in the NBA. Went out to make the steal, and Dickel just went right around him.
Exactly. And now we want Mark Dickel to punish him with 2 free throws. And back to what you said in the first half, we missed a few.
Well, free throw shooting pretty dismal here for New Zealand. They could be comfortably ahead if they would only make their free throws. Now, they shot very, very well against the Russians. They're having quite an off afternoon here against Venezuela from the free throw stripe. I don't know why we call it a free throw. There's nothing free about it. It's tough. Hey, nice play, Lugo.
Planned move by Venezuela, and Lugo comes off the bench to get a lucky 2 after a good play. It bounced around.
Cameron bounce pass inside to Boucher. Marks. Takes steps. He doesn't like the call. Now this is something the referees seldom call. Now there you see a good shot. Actually, Lugo dropped the ball on that attempted.
Yep. And it just bobbled around. Exactly. Had a little bit of luck.
Luck of the Irish.
If there is a travelling call that they're calling over, it is usually when somebody starts their dribble, makes a move. Sean gave a head fake, and we'd need to see it again to see if he actually did move his pivot foot before the ball left his hands. But that is the one travel call they call. If you're driving to the basket, you can actually take, you can produce all your best dance steps. You know, all the stuff you use in Courtney Place, you can bring it out here in the paint, and the refs will let you. But if you're starting your move, it's that first initial move that they'll pick you up. So they probably get 3 or 4 travels a game that way. Otherwise, it's dance time.
Well, that's right, Keith. We've seen a lot of guards here doing their flash dance moves. Some of these pivot feet change about every half a second. I wish it gives the defense such a hard time, such an obvious benefit to the offense not to call that walking. But they haven't done it. New Zealand leading by 1, 60-59. We're in the third quarter, 3:22 to play. Venezuela proving to be a very, very tough opponent here. They were crushed yesterday by Argentina. They virtually got blown away in the first half. The second 20 minutes were just all Argentina, but Venezuela, like New Zealand, I suppose, were targeting this game as their must-win game. New Zealand beat Russia, so they walk into this game thinking 2 wins in a row is really going to solidify our movement into the second round, but they're going to have to struggle the rest of the way to beat Venezuela. A very worthy opponent here. Down by 1.
As long as the score stays close, Venezuela are going to just keep a little bit of composure.
Sean Marks
looking for an easy 2 off the backdoor alley-oop.
Now, after a timeout, Keith, the team comes out.
That is superb.
I was going to say, Venezuela come out and their offensive move after everyone is set up playing defense. An alley-oop, it doesn't make any sense.
No, but then New Zealand comes straight down. They sit off Kirk Penny, and he nails the 3. And how good is that?
Well, that's going to be the difference in the team. Composure versus sort of risk, high risk.
Biggest lead of the game for the Tall Blacks. Yeah.
Diaz is hammered as he takes it to the baseline. Now, I think it's going to be tagged against.
It's on Sean Marks, and if he'd held his ground, he might have got away with that. He left his feet looking for the the block, and Diaz kept coming. Normally Diaz has been pulling up and shooting the bank shot. That time he just kept coming to draw the contact.
Now, what I like about Sean Marks is he's staked out the paint as his territory, and he doesn't like anybody coming into the kitchen. Diaz made a move, and Marks went after him.
Well, it's good help defense too. It's good team defense.
Okay, New Zealand 63, Venezuela 61. Venezuela continue to shoot very well from the free throw line. 100%, 7 from 7 in the first half. Pero Cameron with a 3. It's there!
That's exactly the right time, and that's why Pero Cameron's such a great player. He's not had a good game from outside. He's still in there running the offense. He's left open. He nails the 3. Super stuff from Cameron and Penny.
The lead now out to 5, 66-61. Desperate cross-court pass from
Get a stop here.
Herrera. Lugo backing in, throws nothing but air, and the shot clock goes off before Venezuela could get up a shot that actually hits the iron.
Now, you say Sean Marks has got a bad ankle. Did you see him get up to challenge that shot from Lugo? Forced him to shoot it about 6 feet higher.
Well, if that's a bad ankle, I want him to get healthy very quickly because he's playing pretty superbly this afternoon. Look at what we've got coming when that ankle comes right, Keith.
Yeah, big game tomorrow, Argentina. But right now, we've got a 5-point lead. We've got the ball. Be nice to get a basket here. Kirk Penny's open.
Yeah, I don't want to start crowing too soon, but when you see that.
Oh, that was a lovely offense.
Kirk Penny, one of the best shooters in the game. Rips it open with a 3, 68-61.
Alarm bells on the Venezuelan bench. They're up. They're a bit nervous.
Now they're starting to panic. Diaz double team, throws a wild pass to the Kiwis. A 4-on-1 break. Sparky pulls up. Now they're going to set something up. Dickel takes it back to the top. Something off a pattern. No need to get panicky.
Somebody open. There's 2 on Mark. Now they've reversed back. Diaz switching on to Dylan Boucher.
7 minutes.
It's a foul. That's excellent.
Al Dickel strolls around the pick. He was bumped. Ed Book comes high. And that's 4 fouls.
We've got a timeout on Venezuela.
Carl Herrera picks up his 4th foul. 1:04 left in the 3rd period. Venezuela calls a timeout. New Zealand in the driver's seat. 68-61 with 2 free throws to come.
Oh, super period of play that last 2 minutes, wasn't it? Kirk Penny nailing 2 threes. Pero Cameron a big 3, and then getting his hand to that pass, the intercept, pushing it up. Mark Dickel decided to lay up the easy basket on the break, wasn't there. Bring it out, picks up a foul, back to the free throw line. Super stuff. This last minute's pretty critical.
It is indeed, Keith. I think fatigue is starting to play a part now. Jim, the coach of the Venezuelans, just doesn't have a bench to play with. They delivered nothing in the first half, and he's having to stick with about 6 players, one of whom isn't scoring, and he's got big problems with 11 minutes of hard basketball to play, and suddenly they're down by 7 points. They're looking at 2 free throws from New Zealand. It could be 9 points, and they're getting a little bit panicky.
I couldn't say it better. They've got, I think, 2 points off their bench out of 61. The starters have carried all the load. When he has brought the bench on either today or yesterday, he really got very little out of them.
This is the game they were targeting. It's also a game that New Zealand was targeting. Good matchup between these teams. New Zealand probably a little bit flat after that historic victory over Russia. And, of course, Venezuela were blown away by Argentina yesterday.
The 35-year-old legs of Carl Herrera have forced him to the bench. So that removes a man who picked up a few good baskets inside the paint, but really hasn't done much in the last 4 or 5 minutes.
Big sigh of relief from one of the commentators here as Dickel connects on the first. Makes them both.
It's getting down to crunch time. Mark Dickel's not going to miss him now.
Okay, I love your confidence, Keith. 70-61.
He can taste it now. Look at him. We're in a zone here.
New Zealand a 23-13 advantage this period. Has scored the last 7 straight.
And a big rebound, Ed Book, and another foul.
Machado is called for the foul. He and Book met unceremoniously under the bucket. Machado picks up the foul.
That's a loss of composure foul, a loss of poise. Totally unnecessary, but exactly what we want. Now's the time to nail it down.
Boom. Machado says, what did I do? I was only going for your wallet, mate. So Ed Book.
He thought the refs had run down the other end.
On the line, he makes the first. Well, I'm going to chortle about these free throws since the Kiwis are hitting them again. The commentator's curse has been lifted temporarily, I think.
Oh, this is the time to hit them, Bob. I mean, this is the time you win the game. Or lose it.
Well, this is the time they can ice the ball game from the free throw stripe, and they're doing right now. It's an 11-point lead, biggest lead of the afternoon. This game will be followed by the United States playing Germany, and the place will probably have 15,000 Indianapolis fans here to watch their favorites. The USA who? Well, the papers are full of the American team. A little bit about the foreign teams, but why not?
Another forced shot there from Diaz. The clamps are coming on. Now, Mark's going to control the offense. This is good. This is good. No fast break basket there.
Here we go.
Spreading the court.
Time running down, 10 seconds.
Looking
When
for
is he
the
going to
last
start
shot.
his move? Right now. 7 seconds. He's going to be looking for Perro. Little fake. Kicks it back out. Dickel underneath. Wonderful move. Good pass to Perro Cameron underneath, but only a good defensive effort saved a certain 2 points. Well, the quarter finishes with New Zealand leading by 11. 72, Venezuela 61. We'll be back in a moment. Well, Keith's interesting little statistic here. New Zealand scored 23 in the first period, 24 in the second, 25 in the third. Venezuela's going the opposite direction. They've started with 29 in the first period, 19 in the second, and only 13 in the third. I think that's a sign of New Zealand's intensity just growing slowly into the last 10 minutes of this ball game. New Zealand looked to be in control.
Well, to be honest, if you take away the last 5 minutes, first 5 minutes of the game, New Zealand's 20 points up right now. But it's just been great to see the composure and the discipline and just putting the nails in the coffin. The start of this quarter, obviously very important. Tab Baldwin's already told his team they have to really box out and rebound well. And the other thing is, don't foul the jump shooters. Keep putting pressure on them, force them to take these tough shots. And they can't get back in the rhythm they started the game with.
That's right. Venezuela's shooting percentage in the first period was 70%. It was down to 59 in this at halftime. And I'm sure it's dropped away by another 8 or 10 percentage points in the third period. Interesting score in the second period at the other venue. Argentina leading Russia by 3, 38-35. Sparky Dickel lights it up for New Zealand. It's a 75-61 ball game.
Well, he turned down a 3 to finish the third quarter, didn't he, by unselfishly feeding Perro. He made up for it right there. And here he goes with a steal.
Foot race. Put your money on Dickel, not Lugo. Oh, Lugo hustles down and gets a good block. Boucher feeds Dickel, who gets out of trouble quickly. Takes it back up top.
Nothing lost. Good effort.
You got to give Richard Lugo a medal for that. That's just good hustle.
Well, he's got reasonably fresh legs, hasn't he? But that's going to be his fourth foul. Good move from Ed Book. That's taken a bit of the energy out of Lugo's legs.
Indeed. Dickel's quicker, but Lugo got down there and actually knocked the ball against the glass. Good hustle from him. New Zealand shooting more free throws here. They can ice the game from the stripe. A charity stripe, as they call it. Ed Book coming off 2 free throws in the last period, shooting a couple more here. There's the first.
We haven't seen Carl Herrera come back, and Oscar Torres is off the court too. So a little bit of despondency down here on the Venezuelan bench. Lovely to see, really.
Well, I think Jim Calvin a little unhappy with the way play was going. He's trying to find a combination that's going to play according to a game plan. I think it was getting a bit loose. They weren't going to win with that sort of offensive play. Not against New Zealand. So the big stars are on the bench.
It's hard to see who's going to score, though. Herrera a forced shot. Ed Book was with him. Good rebound, Dylan Boucher.
Once again, Dylan Boucher in the trenches, getting rebounds in amongst 3 players. I'd put my money on him most of the time. He gives away 5-6 inches every time. Nice little
nice
drive,
pass.
good feed, and book, another free throw.
That's Lugo out of the game, I think. I think that's number 5. That was beautiful play, beautiful passing, great finishing.
Celebrations coming from the confident Kiwi team.
We're just waiting now to see who that foul was on. Obviously, he wasn't on Lugo. He's still out there. Just the second foul.
Now from behind.
On number 15.
Was that Morris, I think it was?
Yep. Your mate Carlos Morris.
Yes. Real mixture of names there. 78-61. And as I said before, at the end of 3 periods, Venezuela's shooting percentage had fallen to 49% overall. Not having a happy time since the first period. New Zealand at the end of 3 were shooting 13 for 22 from the free throw stripe, 60%.
And I get the feeling Venezuela may have thrown in the towel. Herrera still staying off.
Well, we can hear the
Torres still staying off. We're now bringing off Morris and bringing on a youngster.
Romero, number 12.
Yep. He didn't play last night against Argentina.
Well, the Kiwi crowd here now making more noise than the Venezuelans, but hey, Venezuelans got very little to cheer about here. Dickel. Ball is stolen.
Juarez.
Quiroz takes it the length of the floor and scores 2, and we've got a kind of a shouting match. Another competition across the court from us, Keith. Kiwis on the left, Venezuela on the right.
The Kiwis don't need to make much noise right now.
Good pass underneath. Dickel throws it back out to Cameron and says, you have it. Ball knocked out of bounds by Diaz, so New Zealand lucky to get away with a inbound there. Here's the steal. Quiroz goes the length of the court. He actually double dribbled there. He controlled the ball with 2 hands. The referee didn't pick it up.
You've got to wonder, Bob, why Herrera and Torres don't come back on. Victor Diaz is still out there, and Phil Jones finishing off the out-of-bounds play with a basket and a foul.
Phil Jones was munched, the meat in the sandwich, and Lugo's the one who ends up on the floor. Hey, what a staunch man. Whack. And Lugo goes down, and Jones remains standing. He gets the 2 points, and he's on the free throw line to convert a 3-point play. It's 80 New Zealand, Venezuela 63. And the fat lady begins to warm up.
And Herrera coming off the bench, Lugo taking a spell.
He's got it. New Zealand want to play controlled basketball. There's 7.5 minutes left to play. Anything could happen, but I don't think Venezuela has the composure to make a run at him.
They're in the bonus too. They've got 14 fouls. And a sign of confidence from Tea Baldwin now. Sparky Dickel having a spell. Chance for Judd Flavel to have a run. Good move. Excellent move.
Another good substitution. Flavel, very competent point guard. Give Sparky a little bit of a rest. We'll need him tomorrow against Argentina.
And he'll put pressure on... Judd, with his quick feet, just picked up a charging call on...
Heredia.
On radio.
Vladimir Heredia.
A good Spanish name.
Well, there you saw that left elbow just kind of tickling the ribs of Judd Flavel as he rushes past. Barges past is more like it. 18-point lead. Sean Marks comes back into the game to finish up with a few more jump shots.
Give the captain, Pero Cameron, a spell.
Well, this substitution shows that Ted Baldwin is taking the game very, very seriously. He doesn't want to give Venezuela even a sniff of a victory. Flavel goes baseline. He's pushed out of bounds, and the foul will go against Quiroz, I believe.
You're right, and that's 2 free throws. Every time the Kiwis come down now, they just need to run their offense until either a foul or a good shot. This is great to see. This is really superb basketball by the Tall Blacks.
Well, it's shown excellent control. They were down by 6 at the end of the first period, 29-23. both Keith and I were scratching our heads a little bit, wondering if perhaps the Kiwis were a bit flat. They were down by 1 at halftime, 48-47. And then suddenly the second half began, and New Zealand just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. Went into a 72-61 lead at the end of 3, and now they're running away with it. 19 the lead here, 82-63. 10-2, they've outscored Venezuela in the fourth period. Quiroz.
Heredia, another charge.
That's 4 on Vladimir Heredia.
And here we see the replay. Oh, yes. He likes that elbow.
Well, he's leading with his left arm there. You can't do that. Flavel.
Judd manages to get a bit of revenge at the other end, runs over Quiroz.
Quiroz was in his way. It was like a fence post. He was sunk 3 feet in the ground. He wasn't going to move. Judd just gave him a little bit of a nudge.
Oh, we're going to see this too.
Boom.
Oh, there we go. Subtle move.
That wasn't even Hollywood from Quiroz. He just got knocked on his duff. 82-63.
Show us some magic, Carl Herrera. The hook shot.
Romero puts it up.
Yeah, the young fellow is going to get 2 free throws. Dylan Boucher in the wars again.
Boucher doesn't mind. Boucher likes a good physical game.
I think Tab would probably like the game to flow now, just up and down. Not too many fouls, not too much physical stuff. Let's get it over with. Let's get out of here. We don't want any injuries. Let's take the win.
One of the dangers at this stage in the game, when it looks like it's all over, is things can get pretty sloppy and pretty rough, and occasionally a serious injury can occur.
And last thing we want. And young Romero's still waiting to get off the mark. He's got it.
So 82-64, 18 points the lead. We're into the last 6.5 minutes. New Zealand sitting pretty here, looking for their second win and the World Championships. Flavel comes off a pick. Sean Marks and Quiroz out there.
Quiroz is going to get called. Judd's back to the free throw line. Good stuff. They double teamed Judd there on the screen and roll. 2 of them chased the ball, put pressure on him while Sean was free. He couldn't free himself up for the pass.
Well, Quiroz bought a ticket to the bench. That's 5. It's a 5-sector ticket. He's on the bench now.
We're going to see Muarez again.
Pine time.
Muarez. He started the game. He looks like he's got a chance to finish it.
Kirk Penny checking in for Dylan Boucher.
Well, Tab's not going to take the foot off the throat. Good to see. Kirk Penny, Phil Jones, Sean Marks, plenty of firepower there. Ed Book, Judd Flavel.
Well, if we look back at the stats after the game, we're going to see that New Zealand basically won the game from the free throw line. They've made about, I would say, 8 of their last 10, and that's really sealed the victory. I know there's 6:21 left, and we've seen teams blow 18-point leads, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think they've won it too with some very intelligent use of the team, some very good discipline offense.
Oh,
and there's a blast from the pass. Victor Diaz with his 24th point.
24
nice three-pointer
ones
from the top. Actually, with all due respect, it's been great to see somebody like him in action. He's obviously been a great player.
Nice shooting touch still, and Ed Book looking for Sean Marks, who wasn't looking. Suddenly, a couple of mistakes from New Zealand.
Yeah, not necessary. A bit of a shotgun pass there. Sean ducked so that he didn't lose his head.
A couple of cocky commentators here. 83-67.
Still 6 minutes to go, nearly. Torres back on now.
Nice move to the baseline. He puts it down.
Torres was limping, though. Hurt himself on that.
Fast break from New Zealand.
Good response.
Cools the temperature down a little bit here. Torres.
I think Torres is going to be out of there.
He's wound up about something. He wants his teammates to fire up. He certainly wants the ball. He thinks he can go one-on-one against Kirk Penny underneath. Herrera backing in against Ed Book. It doesn't go down. And Judd Flavel
flies.
Well, Kiwis are known as flightless birds, but Flavel bought a ticket to Australia on that one.
He loved you saying that. Ed Book feeling the three.
Torres high to get a rebound. Immediately, Phil Jones comes up to slow down Juarez. Diaz felt that he had 3 in his elbow there. It didn't go down. Poor shot selection now hurting Venezuela. It's really a game of composure, and they just don't show it long enough, Keith. They play it in passes, and then suddenly something happens, and they lose it.
Oh, beautiful baseline drive. Kirk finishing with the left hand. Super stuff.
A baseline symphony from
See
Kirk
that
Penny.
again. I could watch him do that all day. I mean, yesterday he was doing it. He hasn't taken it inside too much today. But that was beautiful.
Nice little move on the baseline. Shoves New Zealand back into an 18-point lead here, 87-69.
Someone called a timeout. They weren't allowed it then. I think it might have been New Zealand's timeout. That's why Tab's cancelled it.
Well, the clock continues to run. Torres in the paint. Nice little move and puts it in. That's just good NBA basketball. It's one-on-one stuff.
You have to ask, why has he been sitting on the bench?
Foul's going to be on Heredia, and he's going to foul out. I think that's 5 fouls. Yes, indeed. Number 13, Vladimir Heredia, fouls out of the ball game with 4 minutes, 17 seconds left to play. That's 3 Venezuelan players now, Keith, are picking splinters, that's right.
In the bench, yep.
Now there's a bit of a discussion at halfway. Heredia can't believe it. He's off. The timeout is taken. They've got a minute to replace him. 4:17 left in the game. New Zealand certainly can't lose from here.
Well, it's been a great team effort by the Kiwis to this point. The bench has come to play. It'll be interesting at the end of the game to see how many bench points there's been. But certainly the bench versus the Venezuelan bench, the composure, the tallies from Phil Jones and Kirk Penny, both have got 18 points. Sean Marks with 13. It's a total team effort. Wonderful to see.
Indeed it is, and I think what we've talked about before, Ted Baldwin has rotated his players very, very well. Everybody's getting court time. Everybody's in the action and scoring a bit. And there's no 1 or 2 players who've had to play overly in this game, I think. So the fatigue factor hasn't set in, certainly not for New Zealand. I think it has for Venezuela. As we mentioned in the first half, all 5 of their starters played 17 or 18 minutes in the first half. They got nothing from their bench, and they've got nothing left at the end of the game.
No, to their credit, Oscar Torres came off there full of fire. He is limping, but there's a bit of pride there. I'm not sure that he wanted to sit on the bench for 5 or 6 minutes. Carl Herrera come out. He's showing us a few moves from a 35-year-old.
Now
we've got a score from the other stadium.
Argentina lead Russia 54-42. The Russians are flat. Argentina, a very tough, well-coached team.
Yeah, and the Russians are going to come out tomorrow and play Venezuela. And even assuming they win, they'll go into the second round with no wins to their credit. So you only take the wins with you against other teams that go through.
That's a bit of a shock for Russia. What a proud history they have. The country with the most medals of the World Championships. The USSR has 8. You add the 2 silvers that Russia has gotten since they've been playing as Russia, and that equals 10. 2 other teams, 2 other countries, Yugoslavia on 9, the United States on 9. And here's a trivia question for you. What country has the most gold medals in the World Championships? A 2-pointer, Keith.
USA got 3, I think, from memory. It may be Brazil.
Yugoslavia with 4.
Yugoslavia with 4.
What a proud tradition
Brazil,
they've got.
I think, have got 3 as well, haven't they?
2, I believe.
2.
Back to the game. Ed Book hits
Both
the first free
Yugoslavia
throw.
and Russia are shells of what they were before they were dismantled. And perhaps that's one of the reasons why the rest of the world is caught up to them both.
That's right, Keith. 4 minutes, 16 seconds to go. New Zealand sitting on an 18-point lead. New Zealand have outscored Venezuela 17-10 this quarter.
Phil Jones with his 4th foul. Slightly unfortunate foul. Just got caught off balance there. I don't think we want to see the clock stop too much if we're the Kiwis. I think we want this game to flow now.
Well, it would be nice. New Zealand would like to walk off the floor right now. 4 minutes, 12 seconds to play.
Both teams in the bonus. Inside to Diaz. Too easy.
Good little move from Diaz. Nobody wanted to hit him. So he collects a 2. It's 89-73. Venezuela not quitting. Henry takes it to the hoop.
Good finishing, Paul.
He gets a 2.
We've got 4 of our 5 starters out there at the moment, though, so we're not taking any risks.
Well, we can't afford to. Hey, a big 3 from number 9, Torres. What a shot.
Oscar Torres there showing a little bit of class. Kirk Penny giving him some room.
A couple of those would make things interesting. Sean Marks had to come high to relieve a little pressure on the guard. Phil Jones with a 3.
Phil, it's great to see Phil Jones back again. Wouldn't have been nice to see 2 games with him and scoring in the low digits. I think he had 10 yesterday, didn't he? Most 6 of which were in the last minute or so.
10 points, and he's doubled that output tonight. 20 points for him. Herrera, nice walking hook shot. Looked like Huey Dimmick of old.
A blast from the past. That was nice, actually. You don't see the hook shot very often.
Not too many proponents of it these days. Everybody shoots a jump shot, and if they're close to the basket, they love these running jams. Kirk Penny, nice shot over Herrera.
Kirk Penny with his 20th point. Phil Jones with 20.
Well,
the twin guards.
The only thing that's hurting Venezuela, it's not offensive problems now, it's defense, Keith. They just give up too many points. New Zealand on 95, and no matter how many score, how many Venezuela pour in the last couple of minutes, they're giving up too many.
Yep. Kiwis now running the bench. It's time to celebrate the starters coming off.
And the fans.
Phil Jones is off. Sean Marks, Kirk Penny, Perro's still out there. The captain leads the way. We've seen Rob Hickey and Poro Winatano on for the first time in the tournament.
Well, the fired up New Zealand fans giving the starters a great hand here as they're subbed off. Venezuela score another 2 to make the score 95-80. 15-point lead in New Zealand. Full court pressure. Too little, too late, I'm sure. 2 minutes, 17 seconds. Rob Hickey makes his first appearance in the tournament. Be nice to see Rob to get a couple of dunks.
He's just going to be happy to run the offense here.
Winatana
does it well.
Pulls up, shoots it from the free throw line.
And good to see that. Good to see the offense running. Paul confident enough to take that shot.
Diaz slams it off the glass. He was trying to get his own rebound. He's not a happy man. Torres makes the interception. Diaz feeds Torres. That's good understanding between the 2 veterans.
Sure is. Need to tighten it up just here. Just run this down. It's a minute 44 to go.
Perro Cameron double teamed up front and walks into a jump ball. Rob Hickey gives it off to Perro Cameron, who didn't want the ball just then. He got in trouble.
No, he wanted Rob to turn and look into the court, look down. Now, who called that timeout? Venezuela?
Well, the timeout's called with 1:38 left in the ball game. New Zealand sitting on a 13-point lead. They've given up 5 points here.
We've got a jump ball coming up, and Venezuela going to come up with a way of scoring 14 points to 0 in the last minute 38.
That's a mighty big ask, Keith.
It is a big ask. The Kiwis have really just got to control the tempo. Expect maybe that they'll come out and foul them, but if they do, you just got to bury your free throws. With a lead of 13, there's no pressure on you.
Well, we've said enough times, this was a must game for Venezuela. They've waited till the last minute and a half, 2 minutes really, to put on a full court press. Now, I know they're tired, but there are quick players on that bench, and they had to get the ball from New Zealand. They've waited too long, much too long.
Well, they had to do it at the start of the 4th quarter. They were already down 11 then. It's at halftime, I think we were talking about the fact Venezuela had something like 48 points. They've got 82 now. 34 points in the second half. That's another reflection of what the Kiwi defense can do to you.
Absolutely.
Keep challenging those shots, boxing out, good fundamental basketball, and you wear down a team that's got tons of talent, tons of flair, but plays a lot on emotion, and emotion can turn the other way, and it did tonight.
Well, all of New Zealand should be happy with the result so far in this second game. What a wonderful start to the World Championships 2002 in Indianapolis, knocking off Russia yesterday and looking pretty comfortable here in the second game against Venezuela, leading by 13. 1.5 minutes to play. New Zealand We've got a basketball team the world is taking notice of. No one takes New Zealand lightly anymore. Certainly the Russian coach after the game yesterday said as much when he said, in effect, we knew what New Zealand could do. We played them before. We knew we couldn't take them lightly. And they didn't, but they also got beat. New Zealand have stormed onto the world scene here. The last couple of years, they've played magnificent basketball. They've earned their way here, and they're proving to be a force here in the championships in Indianapolis. Damon Rampton controls the loose ball. Winatana.
Expect some contact there. Going to wrist fouls. That's good. The seconds are chipping away. And a good move, Damon Rampton. Take it to the hole, draw the foul.
That's right. When the pressure is on, they're playing very tight man-to-man. Make a move to the hoop, you'll get fouled, and you get 2 free throws. That cools everything down, gives New Zealand a chance to extend its lead, and keeps running up the foul count against Venezuela.
Come on, Damon, nail this one.
Be nice to make them.
Just relax.
Free throw shooting in the third period virtually gave New Zealand the game.
Sure did.
Don't want to drop it now. One of 2.
Now, no easy baskets here. Getting right back. They're in the zone. Nope, it's man-to-man.
Juarez out front with the ball. Machado. Ball almost stolen by Damon Rampton. They're having to use up a lot of time. That's great. Long shot. Robert
Hickey over the back. Kept that ball alive.
Good second effort from Hickey. Knocked the ball into Pero Cameron's hands. This time, Hickey gives it to the point guard, Henry.
Good play, out of trouble. Run some seconds.
Rampton's going to have to do something with it. Can't hold the ball for longer than 5 seconds. Now the out front, Oscar Torres fouls Paul Henry. He'll go to the line. He'll be shooting 2. Venezuela just see the game slipping out of their grasp. Well, it never was in their grasp after the third period. 96-82, New Zealand cruising here.
And the Kiwi supporters over there very, very happy now.
Well, you can tell them. A fired-up contingent from New Zealand.
The stadium is filling, too. There's a team called the USA about to play tonight, but I think the spectators have missed a pretty good performance here.
Well, we'll play Spot the Kiwi downtown tonight. The Nocturnal Birds will be out glowing once again.
Oh, yes, the coffee shops will be full.
Indeed. Oh, a long time from number 6. Juarez lights it up, 98-85. 42 seconds left in the ball game.
How can we bring the ton up? Discipline's still there. Nothing silly here.
No, that's good
Running
coaching.
The seconds off.
Players playing just according to what they should. Henry, double team, gives it into Cameron. Come on, Rob. Drop it. Slides over the basket. Winatana picks it up. That's another 24 seconds to play with it. Damon Rampton, the ball's on the floor, knocked out of bounds. It's given over to Venezuela with 16.8 seconds left in the game.
We've got a sub. Dylan Boutser for Pero. Give the captain a hand for another complete performance.
That's a nice sub. It's a tribute to the captain. Pero Cameron gets to walk off the court. Time still to play, and Dylan Boutser will run out the last 16.8 seconds in his place. And he comes high to knock Diaz down, going for that block on the three-point attempt.
Diaz certainly forced that. He's looking for a foul, but I didn't see anything there. I thought he just made a mess of it.
Well,
come on, now here's a chance.
That was a
we're just going to
flop.
run it down. That's it.
98-85.
Wonderful effort, Bob.
The game is over, and Keith Bear, New Zealand goes 2-0 in the second round at the World Championships. Unbelievable. 98-85 over Venezuela. Your last thoughts?
Hoop heaven, nothing better. I mean, it's just great to see them play and stick to a game plan that was perfect in the end.
Well, the coaching has been good. One attribute of the New Zealand team, and we've seen it lacking in several of the other teams around the championships, is they have played to a game plan. They never lose their composure, and they stick to the game plan Tab Baldwin sets for them. Even late in the game, when things could have gotten scrappy, New Zealand played very controlled basketball, and that's why they've beaten Russia. That's why they walked all over Venezuela in the second half. A team that loses its composure And Penny and Jones finish up having 20 points each. Sean Marks had 9, but what a force he is for New Zealand inside the stripe.
Yeah, an absolutely wonderful performance again by all of them. And on top of yesterday, we can really look forward to the game with Argentina tomorrow. No pressure on them, I don't feel, but you've got to get ready for the next game.
Okay, New Zealand, keep your eye tomorrow. We'll be going up against Argentina. So those of you who pulled a sickie today, you better get off to work. Remember, you can watch a replay of this game later on. All of New Zealand is proud of the Tall Blacks, who've gone 2-0 at the World Championships. We'll be back tomorrow with the game against Argentina. And Argentina look to be heading Russia, so it'll be a great matchup. New Zealand versus Argentina tomorrow.
It is Saturday.
Another fabulous achievement for the Tall Blacks of the World Championships, beating Venezuela this morning 98-85, beating Russia yesterday. The Tall Blacks confirm a place for themselves in the second round next week at the World Basketball Championships. Now, we've been able to get Sean Marks to our commentary position in Indianapolis. Sean, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, I got you loud and clear.
That's great, Sean. Congratulations on another fantastic performance. You're looking very composed and very organised as a team right now.
Yeah, thank you. It was another great win for us. The guys were all gelling at the right time, so to speak. You know, we've had a couple of quarters where we haven't necessarily played the basketball we'd like to play, but the second half of today's game, we really put it away, which was great. You know, the first quarter of the game wasn't too good, but you know, it's just a matter of putting 4 quarters of basketball together. You mentioned the performance in the first quarter there. Sean, can you put your finger on why there was a slow start? You know, I'm not sure. There's probably a number of things. We come out and I think it's our defensive tenacity, and if we're aggressive on defense, we seem to, that sparks our offense and play well. So I know in the first quarter we let them score 30-odd points. So I mean, you can't let that happen. 30 points in a quarter is far too many. So I think it really all starts at the defensive end for us. Sean, the team defense just looks fantastic, and from that, obviously, everything else flows. But really, it just seems to get better and better as the match goes on. Yeah, no, all the guys have contributed really well, both offensively and defensively. I think we've seen in both our games thus far in the World Champs, it's been a real team effort. You know, today, we had guys off the bench really step up big, and Ed and Dylan both played huge games for us today, so that was great. And both Kirk and Phil were hitting their jump shots, and that's what we need. So it was a real team effort, and all the guys really came to play. So it's just great. We all get along so well, so it's wonderful when things are clicking like that. It's just a matter of hopefully we can carry that over tomorrow and then in the second round. Well, I can tell you, Sean, that there are plenty of people back home who are really enjoying what you're doing and the performances that you've put together. You mentioned Argentina tomorrow. What about that game? It's a huge one. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all the people back home. We receive everybody's emails, and all the guys read them, and that really gets everybody going before the game. So we appreciate all the fan support we've had from back home, and also the crowd here. We've got a great a number of people over here who are loud and doing the huckers in the stands, so that's really keeping us going. So that's been fantastic. But in terms of Argentina tomorrow, we know it's going to be another tough game, and we'll look forward to tonight. We'll go and watch some tape on them and do some scouting reports, and hopefully we just continue to play our game. That's if we play the style of basketball that we can play, with Phil and Kirk outside and Sparky running it at the point, and myself, Piero, Dylan, Damon, the rest of the guys, playing hard on the boards. That's all we can do, and that's all we can ask for everybody. Fantastic. Sean, just one quick personal question before you go. How's the ankle? Oh, the ankle's all right, not too bad. A little injection before the game, so that's fine. That's the least of my worries right now. Okay, that's great. Sean, we appreciate that you're tired. Obviously, you've just come off a great win. We appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to come and talk to us, and good luck tomorrow. Not a problem. Thanks very much. Okay, there we have it. Sean Marks live from Indianapolis. Chris Tupu, it just gets better and better, doesn't it? Oh, great stuff. 2-0, who would have thought it? Well, they would have thought that, and they all believe in themselves. You saw it today. Fantastic effort off the bench. I think we outscored their bench 30-4. And, Paul Hinari, I thought he did a great job coming off the bench there, and they're really controlling the tempo throughout the game. And Tab was able to get a lot of those bench players in there. He got everyone in the end, so superb, second game into the World Championships, being able to do that. But important, obviously, to get that done. When you look at the tournament overall, there's still an awful lot of basketball to come. Yeah, a long way to go, and I know the guys will be looking forward to tomorrow's clash with Argentina.
Currently they're playing Russia, and Argentina's ahead by I think 8 or 10 or so. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
Okay, well, we talk about the bench. Look at those bench points at the bottom of the list there, 30-4.
Huge effort there, and rebounding, 39-28, just dominating the boards. 3 throws, we went to the line 36 times, which was great. You know, there were a few fouls towards the end of the game, but really a good team performance, and everybody sort of chipped in and did their bit. You know, Dylan Boucher came in off the bench and had some great minutes today.
And marvellous to run down those stats. And I think about yesterday too, when they fought back so well against Russia and how those stats changed. And really, for a team that is not, by any stretch of the imagination, one of the tallest there, they are rebounding really well. They're very aggressive on the boards.
Aggressive, yeah. And people like Pero and Dylan end up playing, you know, even the guards, Kirk and Phil, they pick up their share of rebounds. And it's just a matter of positioning and just straight out hustle for those guys. So awesome
looking
stuff.
Really composed and organised through the second half of both matches. We've really got to get these Tall Blacks starting in about the third quarter, don't we?
Yeah, they'll have to start a lot stronger against Argentina. A bit slow there. They let a few shooters get off in the first half. I think Diaz had 17. They really got to knuckle down from the start tomorrow if they want to do well against Argentina. But
all right, well, just before we leave this match today, let's just look back on some of the highlights of this big win over Venezuela as the Tall Blacks go now 2-0. It's the Venezuelans there, and they certainly started with a hiss and a roar, Chris.
Yeah, there's see Herrera there. He got a couple of easy baskets. Kirk Penny there answers his trademark three-point shot. Pero had that huge three, I think it was in the third quarter, to really get them rolling. He had a great game.
That's the key, though, for the Tall Blacks, isn't it? There are so many players they can go to now.
Too many, you know, and for any team that's scouting the Kiwis and the Tall Blacks, it's a hard ask because, you know, who do you leave open? Pero there, stepping out. Dylan Boucher coming off the bench there, dishing off Ed Book. I mean, everybody just chipped in, and team games win basketball games, rather.
And you can see the belief and the confidence now. It's growing all the time, but there's nothing like a good couple of wins of the world champs. Suddenly your confidence level really high.
Oh, you know, these guys, they've got the wins, you know, and Tab talked about it before the game, after last night's game, that it's one thing to get there in a position to win the games. Now the Tall Blacks are following through with that, and they're actually getting the victories against the big teams, and that's great.
And to see the Venezuelans and the Russians, as it was too in the final quarter yesterday, to see them get rattled by the Tall Blacks' pressure, and it is constant. Not there, bit of a turnover and a steal and an easy 2 to Venezuela, but overall, and especially through that final quarter, dominance from the Tall Blacks. And in fact, in the second half, they won that 51-37. So a fantastic performance by the Tall Blacks. And Chris, let's look forward to Argentina now. And what are your thoughts for tomorrow's big game?
Well, I think, you know, the pressure's off them. Obviously, they want to continue the momentum they sort of gained in these last 2 games. But, you know, it's going to be a huge game tomorrow, and the Tall Blacks definitely will have confidence going into this game, and rightly so.
All right, yeah, looking forward to that one now after the 2-0 performance. And Argentina, the game is tomorrow. Let's have a look at the coverage that's coming up on One Sport. And that game tomorrow at 1 o'clock, the Tall Blacks playing Argentina. Now, last we saw there was a progress during the Tall Blacks Venezuela game. They put up a little key that said Argentina and Russia were very close. Argentina just ahead of the Russians. But we'll look forward to that big game tomorrow. You'll also get the chance to see today's game again on Gillette Sports Zone. So there it is, 2 wins from 2 for the Tall Blacks. It is a fantastic start, and as I say, another chance for you to catch this game this afternoon on Gillette Sports Zone. And we'll be back tomorrow afternoon from 1 o'clock with the third and final group match. New Zealand playing Argentina, and the South American side ranked number 3 in the world, but we've already seen that the Tall Blacks really care little for those world rankings now. Thanks for being with us this morning. Very much the Tall Blacks Day. On behalf of the One Sport team, good morning to you.
Thank you.